The Big Bang did not bang. Let that settle for a moment. Feel it unravel everything you thought you knew about existence itself. You've been told a story since childhood, a cosmic explosion, a brilliant flash of light birthing space and time from nothingness. But what if I told you that the most profound moment in cosmic history was not a burst of radiance, but the deepest, most absolute darkness imaginable? What if the very foundation of reality began not with light, but with something so dark, so impossibly void, that darkness itself seems bright by comparison? You are about to discover that the universe's darkest secret isn't hidden in some distant corner of space. It's woven into the very fabric of everything you see, everything you are, everything that ever was or will be. The darkness we're searching for isn't just the absence of light, it's the absence of existence itself. Yet somehow, paradoxically, it's the mother of all existence. Close your eyes for a moment. In that personal darkness behind your eyelids, you might think you're experiencing something close to cosmic emptiness. But you're wrong. What you're sensing is practically blazing with activity compared to where we're going. Your closed eyes still register the faint glow of blood vessels, the electrical storms of neurons firing, the quantum foam of particles popping in and out of existence in the space between your thoughts. True cosmic darkness is something else entirely. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff that drops not into a valley, but into pure nothingness. Not black, not empty, but literally nothing at all. No space to fall through, no time to measure the fall, no mathematics to describe what lies beyond that edge. This is where our journey begins, at the precipice of the darkest place in the universe. And here's what will haunt your dreams tonight. We're going to find out that this darkness isn't somewhere else. It's everywhere. It's in the space between your atoms, in the pause between your heartbeats, in the silence between the words you're hearing right now. The universe is 13.8 billion years old, they tell you. But what came before that first moment? What existed in the infinitesimal instant before the Big Bang supposedly occurred? Scientists call it a singularity, a point of infinite density and infinite temperature where the laws of physics break down completely. But that's just a pretty word for we have absolutely no idea. It's a mathematical confession of ignorance dressed up in academic clothing. Here's what they don't tell you in textbooks. That singularity, that point of perfect darkness before existence began, didn't go anywhere. It's still here. It surrounds us. It permeates every cubic centimeter of space, every quantum field, every thought in your head right now. The darkest place in the universe isn't a location. It's the foundation upon which location itself is built. You might wonder how darkness can be a foundation for light, how nothingness can give birth to everything. The answer will remake your understanding of reality. Every photon of light that has ever existed, every star that has ever burned, every galaxy that has ever spiraled through space, all of it is nothing more than a temporary disturbance in Chukihi, an ocean of primordial darkness. Light isn't the opposite of darkness. It's darkness having a brief conversation with itself. Think about the space between stars. You call it empty, but it's roiling with dark energy, dark matter, virtual particles appearing and annihilating billions of times per second. What you perceive as empty space is actually a seething cauldron of invisible activity. But even this isn't the true darkness we seek. This is darkness with training wheels, darkness for beginners. The real darkness, the darkest place in the universe, exists in dimensions that human language hasn't learned to describe. It exists in the quantum foam at scales smaller than the Planck length, where space and time themselves become meaningless concepts. It exists in the mathematical structures that govern reality before reality has any substance to govern. It exists in the space between possibilities, in the pause between cause and effect, in the absolute silence that exists before sound has anything to travel through. But here's where your comfortable worldview crumbles completely. This primordial darkness isn't just the background of reality. It's the foreground, too. Every atom in your body is mostly empty space. Not empty like a vacant room, but empty like the void between galaxies. Empty like the mathematical concept of zero, given physical form. You are a walking constellation of mostly nothingness held together by forces that exist only in the darkness between particles. Scientists estimate that ordinary matter, the stuff you can see and touch, makes up only about 5% of the universe. The rest is dark matter and dark energy, invisible forms of existence that we can only detect by their gravitational shadows. But even this is just scratching the surface. Beyond dark matter, beyond dark energy, beyond even the concept of beyond, lies something so dark that darkness is too bright a word for it. You're probably thinking this is metaphysical poetry, not science. You're wrong. This is harder science than anything you learned in school. The mathematics of quantum field theory, the equations of general relativity, the principles of thermodynamics, they all point toward the same unsettling truth. What we call reality is a thin veneer of temporary patterns dancing on an infinite ocean of primordial void. The ancient Greeks had a word for this: chaos. Not the modern meaning of disorder, but the original concept, the yawning void from which all things emerge and to which all things return. They understood something that modern physics is only now rediscovering, that existence is not the natural state of the universe. Non-existence is. We are the anomaly. Light is the exception. Consciousness is a brief, flickering candle in a cosmic wind that has been blowing since before time began. But the most unsettling revelation is yet to come. This darkness, this primordial void that underlies all existence, is not passive. It's not simply the absence of something. It's actively creative. It's thinking. It's choosing. In ways that would make your understanding of intelligence seem like a child playing with building blocks. This cosmic darkness is orchestrating the dance of galaxies, the formation of stars, the evolution of life, the emergence of consciousness itself. Every thought you've ever had, every decision you've ever made, every moment of creativity or inspiration, all of it might be nothing more than ripples in an infinite dark ocean of cosmic intelligence that existed long before your planet formed and will continue long after your sun burns out. You think you're reading these words by choice, but what if choice itself is just another word for the way darkness dreams? Consider the black holes scattered throughout our galaxy, those gravitational monsters where space and time become so warped that nothing, not even light, can escape. You think of them as cosmic vacuum cleaners, sucking up matter and energy. But recent theoretical work suggests something far more profound. Black holes might be windows into that primordial dark, portals where the universe temporarily returns to its original state of perfect void. At the event horizon of a black hole, the normal rules of physics surrender to something older, something that existed before physics had rules to break. What would you experience if you could somehow survive crossing that event horizon? Time would slow, then stop, then become meaningless. Space would stretch and compress in ways that would make geometry cry. But beyond the mathematical descriptions of spaghettification and tidal forces lies something more profound. You would be returning to the womb of existence itself, diving back into that primordial darkness from which you and everything else originally emerged. The cosmic microwave background radiation, that faint afterglow of the Big Bang that permeates all of space, is often called the baby picture of the universe. But look more carefully at those temperature variations, those tiny fluctuations in the cosmic background. They're not random. They're organized. They show patterns, structures, information content that suggests the early universe wasn't born from chaos, but from something that already possessed a form of order, a form of knowledge, a form of intention. What if the Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything, but the moment when an infinite darkness finally decided to dream of light? What if those temperature variations in the cosmic microwave background are the fossilized thoughts of a cosmic intelligence contemplating existence for the first time? What if we're living inside that thought, temporary patterns in an eternal mind that exists in a state of perfect darkness because true knowledge transcends the need for illumination? You might resist this idea. Your human brain evolved to process visible light and identify predators on ancient savannas, wants to believe that light equals good, darkness equals bad. But the universe doesn't care about your primate preferences. The universe operates on principles that existed billions of years before Earth formed and will continue billions of years after Earth is gone. And those principles suggest that consciousness itself might be a property of that primordial darkness, not something that emerged from complex arrangements of matter and energy. Think about your own consciousness for a moment. Where is it located? Scientists can identify which parts of your brain correlate with different mental functions, but they've never found consciousness itself. It exists in the spaces between neurons, in the darkness between synapses, in the quantum foam of microtubules where classical physics gives way to something stranger. Your consciousness might be a local manifestation of that cosmic consciousness that exists in perfect darkness, temporarily localized in the biological neural network you call your brain. But if consciousness is a property of darkness rather than light, if awareness is a characteristic of the void rather than of complex matter, then every black hole in the universe might be thinking. Every region of empty space might be contemplating. Every quantum vacuum fluctuation might be a thought. In a mind so vast that galaxies are like individual neurons in its cosmic brain. This isn't science fiction. This is where quantum mechanics, information theory, and cosmology converge. The holographic principle suggests that all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary, meaning that three-dimensional reality might be a projection from a two-dimensional surface. But what if it goes deeper? What if even those two dimensions are projections from a one-dimensional structure, or a zero-dimensional point, or something even more fundamental, a state of pure information that exists in no dimensions at all, in perfect darkness, in absolute void? The mathematics of string theory requires additional dimensions beyond the four we experience, dimensions curled up so small we can't detect them. Dimensions that might exist in a state of eternal darkness because light, as we understand it, can't propagate through them. But what if those dark dimensions aren't just geometric abstractions? What if they're the realm where cosmic consciousness operates, where the fundamental decisions about the nature of reality are made, where the templates for physical law are stored in libraries of living darkness? You're beginning to understand now why this journey is necessary. The darkest place in the universe isn't somewhere you can point to with the telescope. It's not a region of space you can visit with a spacecraft. It's the substratum of existence itself, the foundation upon which the very concept of place is built. It's the silence from which music emerges, the stillness from which motion begins, the void from which form crystallizes. But here's the most profound realization. You don't have to travel anywhere to experience this darkness. You're already immersed in it. You're made of it. You're a temporary perturbation in its infinite calm, a brief thought in its eternal contemplation. The atoms in your body condensed from the quantum vacuum. The energy that powers your thoughts was borrowed from the zero-point field. The space you occupy is on loan from infinity. When you dream at night, when your conscious mind surrenders control and allows deeper patterns to emerge, you might be briefly reconnecting with that cosmic consciousness that exists in perfect darkness. Your dreams might be conversations with the void, glimpses of the infinite intelligence that orchestrates the dance of particles and waves, matter and energy, space and time. The ancient mystics understood this. They spoke of the dark night of the soul not as a period of suffering, but as a return to the source, a reunion with the primordial darkness from which all light emerges. They practiced meditation not to achieve enlightenment, but to remember the darkness that underlies all illumination. They sought not to transcend the void, but to recognize it as their deepest nature. Modern science is arriving at the same conclusion through different methods. Quantum field theory describes particles as excitations in underlying fields that exist in the vacuum. Cosmology describes the universe as emerging from a quantum fluctuation in the void. Neuroscience describes consciousness as patterns of information that somehow emerge from the darkness between neurons. All roads lead back to the same destination: the recognition that what we call existence is a thin film of temporary patterns dancing on the surface of an infinite dark ocean. But this darkness isn't empty. It's pregnant with infinite possibilities. Every law of physics that governs the behavior of matter and energy exists potentially within its depths. Every possible universe, every alternative history, every path not taken. All of them exist simultaneously in the quantum superposition of primordial void. The darkness contains everything that ever was, everything that is, and everything that ever could be. You are witnessing the birth of a new understanding of reality, one that will fundamentally alter humanity's place in the cosmos. We are not isolated sparks of consciousness in a dead universe. We are temporary focal points of awareness in an infinite field of cosmic intelligence that exists in perfect darkness because it transcends the need for external illumination. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself. Darkness learning to see its own depths. The search for the darkest place in the universe is really a search for the deepest truth about existence itself. And that truth is both terrifying and beautiful. We are surrounded by, embedded in, and ultimately identical with an infinite intelligence that exists in a state of perfect darkness, not because it lacks light, but because it is the source from which all light emerges. Are you ready to go deeper? Are you prepared to abandon everything you thought you knew about the nature of reality and follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it leads to conclusions that will remake your understanding of what it means to exist, to think, to be human in a universe that might be far stranger and far more conscious than you ever dared imagine? The journey into cosmic darkness is about to begin, and you are about to discover that the deepest truth about the universe is not written in the stars, but in the spaces between them, in the silence that contains all possible sounds, in the void that dreams all possible worlds into existence. What you thought was empty space is actually the mind of God thinking about itself, and you, reading these words right now, are one of those thoughts, briefly becoming aware of your own nature as a ripple in an infinite dark ocean of cosmic consciousness that has been contemplating existence since before time began and will continue long after time ends. The darkness is calling. It has been waiting for you to remember who you really are. You've been told that space is mostly empty. This is perhaps the most beautiful lie ever constructed by human imagination. Walk outside on a clear night and look up at the stars scattered across that velvet canvas of apparent nothingness. What you're seeing is not emptiness punctuated by light. You're witnessing a cosmic illusion so profound that it has fooled our species for millennia. Let me show you what's really there. Between you and the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, lies a distance of roughly 25 trillion miles. Your mind cannot truly comprehend this number. It's like trying to count every grain of sand on every beach while blindfolded in a hurricane. But here's what will restructure your understanding of reality. That seemingly empty space contains more activity, more energy, more fundamental creativity than all the matter in all the galaxies combined. The vacuum of space is not vacant. It's a seething ocean of virtual particles popping into existence and annihilating each other billions of times per second. Imagine standing in what appears to be a perfectly still pond, only to discover that beneath the surface, trillions of microscopic creatures are being born and dying in an endless dance of creation and destruction. This is the true nature of the space between stars, not empty, but so densely packed with quantum activity that our instruments can barely detect the constant storm of existence and non-existence playing out at scales smaller than atoms. But even this revelation is merely the appetizer for the feast of cosmic strangeness we're about to consume. The quantum vacuum, with all its frenetic activity, represents only a tiny fraction of what actually fills the universe. The rest, roughly 95% of everything that exists, consists of two phenomena so mysterious that we can only describe them by what they're not. We call them dark matter and dark energy, and they are the architects of cosmic structure, the invisible hands that sculpt galaxies and govern the expansion of space itself. Dark matter doesn't emit light. It doesn't absorb light. It doesn't reflect light. By every conventional definition, it shouldn't exist, yet it outweighs all visible matter by a ratio of 5-to-1. Imagine discovering that for every person you can see walking down the street, there are 5 invisible people you never knew were there. People who cast no shadows, make no sound, but whose gravitational influence shapes the very architecture of the city around you. This is dark matter, a cosmic population that dwarfs everything we've ever seen, touched, or measured directly. Dark energy is even more bewildering. It's not just invisible. It's actively pushing the universe apart, causing space itself to expand at an accelerating rate. Picture the universe as a balloon being inflated, but instead of someone blowing air into it from outside, the rubber of the balloon itself is creating new space, stretching reality from within. Every cubic centimeter of seemingly empty space is being continuously created, filled with this mysterious dark energy that operates like a cosmic anti-gravity, driving galaxies apart faster and faster with each passing moment. Here's where the comfortable certainties of astronomy begin to crumble. If dark matter and dark energy comprise 95% of the universe, then everything we've ever observed, every star, every planet, every galaxy, every human being, is essentially cosmic debris, floating in an ocean of invisible phenomena. You are not the main character in this story. You are not even a supporting character. You are a brief footnote in a narrative written by forces you cannot see, cannot touch, and cannot directly detect. But let's go deeper into this cosmic archaeology. The early universe, the first few 100,000 years after the Big Bang, was opaque. Not dark, but opaque, like trying to see through a thick fog made of pure energy. Photons couldn't travel more than a few feet before being absorbed and re-emitted by the dense plasma that filled all of space. The universe was effectively blind to itself, unable to see its own structure forming. Then, roughly 380,000 years after the Big Bang, something extraordinary happened. The universe cooled enough for electrons to combine with protons and form the first atoms. Suddenly, space became transparent. Light could travel freely for the first time. This moment, called the cosmic dawn, is when the universe first opened its eyes. The afterglow of this cosmic awakening is still visible today as the cosmic microwave background radiation, a faint whisper of ancient light that permeates every cubic inch of space. But here's the unsettling part. When we map this cosmic microwave background, we don't see randomness. We see patterns, structures, variations in temperature and density that seem to follow rules we don't fully understand. It's as if someone, or something, had already organized the early universe according to a blueprint that existed before. Matter and energy had even learned to dance together. These patterns in the cosmic microwave background are the fossilized footprints of whatever process shaped reality in its first moments. They tell us that the universe was not born chaotic and random, but emerged with a kind of cosmic DNA already encoded in its structure. The seeds of every galaxy, every star cluster, every large-scale structure we observe today were already present in those early fluctuations, waiting billions of years to grow into the architecture of the cosmos we see around us. This raises a question that will haunt the rest of our journey. If the universe began with such precise organization, such elegant mathematical structure, such apparent intentionality in its design, what intelligence was responsible for encoding that information? What cosmic mind wrote the program that would eventually execute itself as stars, galaxies, planets, and conscious beings capable of contemplating their own existence? The mathematics of cosmic inflation suggest that, in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, space expanded faster than light itself. Not the matter in space, but space itself, stretching at a rate that defies human comprehension. In order to less time than it takes light to cross the width of a proton, the entire observable universe inflated from smaller than a quantum particle to larger than a grapefruit. But inflation theory requires something even stranger: the existence of an inflation field, a kind of cosmic energy that pervaded all of space and drove this exponential expansion. Where did this inflation field come from? What turned it on? What turned it off? These questions lead us into territory where physics begins to sound like philosophy, and philosophy begins to sound like theology. The inflation field appears to have existed before space, before time, before the very concept of existence had meaning. It was the first thing, the prime mover, the cosmic match that lit the fuse of reality itself. But even inflation theory, elegant as it is, cannot explain why the universe exists rather than not existing. Why did that first quantum fluctuation in the primordial vacuum choose to become something rather than remaining nothing? Why did the laws of physics crystallize in the specific forms they did, rather than in any of the infinite other possible forms they might have taken? Some physicists propose the multiverse, the idea that our universe is just one of countless bubble universes floating in an infinite ocean of cosmic foam, each with its own laws of physics, its own constants, its own version of reality. In this view, we exist in this particular universe because it happens to have the right conditions for stars, planets, and conscious observers to emerge. The multiverse solves the fine-tuning problem by making every possible universe equally real. But the multiverse hypothesis creates an even deeper mystery. What is the nature of the substrate that contains all these bubble universes? What is the medium in which infinite realities float? If our universe is expanding into something, what is that something? And if space and time are properties of our particular bubble universe, then what kinds of dimensions, what forms of existence, what types of consciousness might be possible in the larger multiverse that contains us? The answer brings us back to darkness. Not the darkness of empty space, not the darkness of black holes, but the primordial darkness that exists before space and time have any meaning. The multiverse, if it exists, must be embedded in something that transcends physical reality as we understand it. Something that exists in a state of pure potentiality, where all possible laws of physics, all possible constants, all possible forms of existence coexist in a kind of quantum superposition of infinite possibility. This is the darkness we're seeking, not the absence of light, but the presence of everything that could ever be, existing simultaneously in a state of perfect potential. It's a darkness that contains all possible lights, all possible colors, all possible forms of illumination that could ever exist in any universe. It's the cosmic womb from which not just our reality, but all possible realities are continuously being born. Consider the cosmic web, the largest structure in the universe, a vast network of dark matter filaments connecting galaxy clusters across billions of light years. When we map the distribution of galaxies throughout the observable universe, we see something that looks remarkably like a neural network, like the synaptic connections in a cosmic brain. Galaxy clusters sit at the nodes where dark matter filaments intersect, like neurons connected by dark synapses, carrying information across unimaginable distances. What kind of thoughts might such a cosmic brain be thinking? What kind of information is flowing along those dark matter highways that connect galaxy clusters? If consciousness is an emergent property of information processing in complex networks, then the universe itself, with its web of dark matter, its quantum vacuum fluctuations, its entangled particles separated by cosmic distances, might be the most complex information processing system that has ever existed. But this raises another unsettling possibility. What if consciousness isn't something that emerges from complex arrangements of matter, but something that exists fundamentally in the fabric of reality itself? What if awareness, intelligence, the capacity for experience and choice are not products of biological evolution, but intrinsic properties of the cosmos? What if the universe is conscious not because it contains conscious beings, but because consciousness is what the universe is made of? Recent discoveries in quantum mechanics suggest that information, not matter or energy, might be the most fundamental aspect of reality. The IT from bit hypothesis proposes that every particle, every force, every field is ultimately made of information. But information requires something to be informed: a mind, an observer, a consciousness capable of processing and integrating experience. If reality is made of information, then reality itself might be a form of cosmic consciousness experiencing its own existence. This perspective transforms our understanding of dark matter and dark energy. Instead of mysterious substances that we cannot detect, they become the thoughts and intentions of a cosmic mind that is thinking reality into existence moment by moment. Dark matter would be the cognitive structure, the neural architecture of cosmic consciousness. Dark energy would be the will, the intention, the creative force that drives the universe to expand, evolve, and explore new possibilities. The cosmic microwave background radiation would be the memory of the universe, the record of its first conscious moment when it began to think itself into existence. The quantum vacuum would be the dreaming mind, the subconscious of the cosmos, where all possibilities exist simultaneously until observation collapses them into actuality. Black holes would be the deep meditation states of cosmic consciousness, regions where normal thought processes surrender to something deeper and more fundamental. But if the universe is conscious, if reality itself is a form of cosmic mind experiencing its own existence, then what are we? Are we separate beings observing the universe from outside, or are we localized aspects of the universe's consciousness observing itself from within? When you look up at the night sky and feel that sense of awe and wonder, is that your emotion? Or is it the universe feeling amazement at its own beauty through your eyes? The boundaries between observer and observed, between consciousness and cosmos, begin to dissolve when we follow this line of thinking to its logical conclusion. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, temporarily localized into the IDBU, pattern of matter and energy you call your body, the pattern of information processing you call your mind. Your thoughts are cosmic thoughts. Your experiences are cosmic experiences. Your search for the darkest place in the universe is the universe searching for its own deepest nature. This realization leads us to a profound paradox. The more we learn about the universe, the more mysterious it becomes. Every answer opens 10 new questions. Every discovery reveals how much more there is to discover. The universe seems to be constructed in such a way that it will always remain partially hidden from itself, always mysterious to its own conscious aspects, always retreating into deeper levels of complexity and strangeness as we probe its secrets. Perhaps this is intentional. Perhaps the universe has designed itself to be an eternal mystery, an infinite puzzle that can never be completely solved because the act of solving it changes both the solver and the puzzle. Perhaps consciousness exists not to understand reality completely, but to ensure that reality always has something new to discover about itself. The search for the darkest place in the universe is really a search for the source of cosmic mystery itself. We're looking for the place where questions are born, where possibilities crystallize into actualities, where the universe decides what to become next. And that place, as we're beginning to understand, is not somewhere else. It's here, now, in the space between thoughts, in the pause between heartbeats, in the quantum vacuum that underlies every atom in your body. You are sitting at the center of the greatest mystery that has ever existed. The darkest place in the universe is not billions of light years away. It's in the space between the words you're reading, in the darkness behind your eyes when you blink, in the silence between the notes of the cosmic symphony that is continuously creating reality from moment to moment. The universe has no edge because it doesn't need one. It has no center because every point is the center. It has no beginning because it's still beginning, right now, in the space where your consciousness meets the cosmos and recognizes itself for what it really is, an infinite darkness dreaming of light, an eternal silence composing the music of existence, a perfect void pregnant with every possibility that has ever existed or ever could exist. Are you ready to go deeper into this darkness? Are you prepared to discover that the cosmic mystery you're trying to solve is not separate from you, but is you expressing itself as the question and the search for the answer simultaneously? The darkness is calling, and it's calling from inside your own consciousness, from the place where you and the universe are revealed to be different names for the same fundamental reality exploring its own infinite nature. Imagine reality as a film reel where time is not flowing, but every moment that has ever existed or ever will exist already sits there, frozen in eternal stillness. Past, present, and future are not a sequence of events unfolding one after another. They are different frames in a cosmic movie that plays only in the minds of conscious observers moving through it. This is not poetry. This is the logical conclusion of Einstein's theory of relativity, and it means that everything you think you know about time, causality, and existence itself is a cognitive illusion created by your brain's need to process infinity one moment at a time. The block universe theory suggests that all moments in time exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional structure called space-time. When you remember yesterday, you're not accessing something that no longer exists. You're looking at another region of space-time that is just as real as the moment you're experiencing right now. When you anticipate tomorrow, you're not imagining something that might happen. You're sensing a future that already exists in the eternal architecture of reality. But here's where this revelation becomes unsettling. If all moments exist simultaneously, then free will become a profound puzzle. The decision you think you're about to make has already been made in the space-time block. Your thoughts, your choices, your entire life story already exists as a fixed pattern in the four-dimensional fabric of reality. You experience the illusion of choice because your consciousness moves through the pre-existing structure, like a flashlight beam illuminating different sections of a vast, darkened library where every book has already been written. This leads us to our first encounter with true cosmic darkness, the darkness between moments. If time is not flowing but simply existing, then what exists in the spaces between the frames of reality's cosmic film reel? What fills the gaps between one moment and the next in the eternal structure of space-time? The answer takes us into mathematical territories where even professional physicists begin to sound like mystics. At the smallest scales of reality, distances smaller than the Planck length, time intervals shorter than the Planck time, the very concepts of space and time break down completely. Below these scales, reality becomes a foam of quantum uncertainty, where the normal rules of cause and effect surrender to something far stranger. Space and time are not continuous, but quantized, like the pixels on a cosmic computer screen. Between these pixels of reality lies something that cannot be described in ordinary language, because language itself depends on spatial and temporal concepts that have no meaning at these scales. This is the first level of cosmic darkness, the darkness between the fundamental units of reality itself. It's not empty space. Space doesn't exist there. It's not the absence of time. Time has no meaning there. It's a form of existence so alien to human experience that we can only approach it through mathematical equations that describe relationships between entities that may not actually be entities at all. But let's step back from these quantum abysses and examine how we arrived at such strange conclusions. The story begins with a simple observation that should have remained simple, but instead opened doorways into cosmic mysteries that continue to haunt our understanding of reality. In the early 20th century, astronomers noticed something peculiar about the light from distant galaxies. The spectral lines, the fingerprints of specific atoms, were shifted toward the red end of the spectrum. This red shift could mean only one thing. These galaxies were moving away from us. The more distant the galaxy, the faster it was receding. The universe was expanding. This discovery should have been enough to revolutionize our understanding of reality. Instead, it was merely the first domino in a cascade of revelations that would eventually lead us to question whether reality itself is real. The expanding universe implied that if you could reverse time, everything would contract back toward a single point. A singularity where all matter, energy, space, and time were compressed into something smaller than an atom, but containing more mass energy than 1,000,000,000,000 galaxies. The mathematics of this singularity are beautiful and terrifying. As you approach it, density approaches infinity. Temperature approaches infinity. The curvature of space-time approaches infinity. The normal laws of physics collapse into meaninglessness. Equations that describe the behavior of matter and energy produce results that divide by zero, multiply by infinity, and generate answers that are mathematically undefined. This is not merely a limitation of human knowledge, it's a fundamental boundary in the structure of reality itself. The singularity represents a place where existence and non-existence become indistinguishable, where the question, what exists, becomes as meaningless as asking, what is the color of Tuesday? The Big Bang's singularity is not just the beginning of space and time, it's the edge of meaning itself. But here's what kept Einstein awake at night, what drove him to spend the last decades of his life searching for a unified field theory that would eliminate singularities from physics. If singularities represent places where reality breaks down, then reality itself might be fundamentally incomplete. The universe might be constructed on a foundation of mathematical inconsistency, like a cosmic house of cards that could collapse back into meaninglessness at any moment. General relativity predicts that singularities are not rare cosmic accidents, but inevitable consequences of the laws of physics. Every black hole contains a singularity. The Big Bang began with a singularity. The Big Crunch, if the universe eventually collapses, would end with a singularity. Reality is riddled with these holes in existence, these places where the fabric of space-time develops tears that cannot be mended by any known physics. Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose proved mathematically that singularities are unavoidable in any universe governed by general relativity. Their singularity theorems showed that under very general conditions, conditions that almost certainly apply to our universe, space-time must contain regions where the curvature becomes infinite, where the laws of physics break down, where the very concept of existence becomes undefined. This revelation transformed cosmology from an exercise in mapping the universe into an investigation of the limits of reality itself. We live in a cosmos that contains regions where the question, what is real, has no meaningful answer. The universe is not just stranger than we imagine. It's stranger than we can imagine, because it contains elements that transcend the boundaries of imagination itself. But singularities, as mind-bending as they are, represent only the most obvious cracks in the foundation of reality. Quantum mechanics reveals even deeper mysteries lurking in the structure of existence. At the quantum level, particles don't have definite properties until they're observed. They exist in superpositions of all possible states simultaneously until measurement forces them to choose a specific reality. The famous double-slit experiment illustrates this quantum strangeness in its purest form. Fire a single photon at two parallel slits, and it somehow passes through both slits simultaneously, interfering with itself to create an interference pattern on the screen behind. But place a detector at one of the slits to determine which path the photon takes, and the interference pattern disappears. The photon behaves like a particle with a definite path, passing through one slit or the other, but not both. This is not merely a quirk of laboratory physics, it's a fundamental feature of reality. Quantum mechanics suggests that the universe exists in a state of perpetual possibility until conscious observation collapses those possibilities into actualities. Reality is not fixed and predetermined, but continuously created through the interaction between consciousness and the quantum field of infinite potential. But this leads to an even more unsettling question. What exists between the moment when possibilities exist and the moment when they collapse into actualities? What fills the temporal gap between potential and real? This gap is not measured in seconds or milliseconds. It exists outside of time altogether, in a realm where the normal sequence of cause and effect has no meaning. Quantum field theory describes this realm as the quantum vacuum. Not empty space, but a seething ocean of virtual particles that pop into existence and annihilate each other before they can be directly observed. These virtual particles are not quite real, but not quite imaginary either. They exist in a state of quantum limbo, borrowing energy from the future to exist for impossibly brief moments before paying it back and vanishing into non-existence. The energy they borrow comes from the vacuum itself, which turns out to be the most energetic place in the universe. The quantum vacuum contains zero-point energy, the minimum energy that any quantum system must possess even at absolute zero temperature. When physicists calculate how much zero-point energy should exist in empty space, they get an answer that is larger than all the matter and energy in the observable universe by a factor of 10 to the 120th power. This is not a small discrepancy. This is the difference between the mass of a single atom and the mass of the entire visible universe, multiplied by itself 40 times. Either our calculations are catastrophically wrong, or the quantum vacuum contains enough energy to create billions of universes like ours every second. The fact that space doesn't explode into infinite expansion from this vacuum energy is called the cosmological constant problem, and it represents one of the deepest mysteries in modern physics. Some physicists propose that this vast reservoir of vacuum energy is exactly what drives cosmic inflation and the accelerating expansion of the universe. Dark energy, the mysterious force that causes space itself to expand, might not be a separate phenomenon, but simply the quantum vacuum expressing its true nature on cosmic scales. If this is correct, then the emptiest regions of space are actually the most energetically active, seething with virtual particles and zero-point fluctuations that collectively generate enough anti-gravity to push galaxies apart. But this raises a profound question about the nature of nothingness itself. If empty space is not empty but filled with quantum activity, if the vacuum is not vacant but pregnant with infinite energy, then what would true nothingness look like? Is it even possible for anything to be truly empty, truly void, truly non-existent? The answer leads us into philosophical territory that makes quantum mechanics seem straightforward by comparison. True nothingness would not just be the absence of matter and energy, it would be the absence of space and time, the absence of mathematical relationships, the absence of logical possibilities, the absence of the very capacity for absence itself. True nothingness cannot be described because description requires something to describe. It cannot be imagined because imagination requires something to imagine. It cannot even be conceived because conception requires something to conceive. Yet modern physics suggests that true nothingness is not just theoretically possible, but actively created. The universe appears to have emerged from something very much like true nothingness through a process called quantum tunneling from nothing. According to some interpretations of quantum cosmology, the entire universe is a quantum fluctuation in the vacuum of true nothingness, a temporary disturbance in perfect void that happened to persist long enough to evolve stars, galaxies, and conscious observers capable of contemplating their own existence. This interpretation suggests that existence itself is metastable, stable for now, but not necessarily stable forever. The universe might exist in what physicists call a false vacuum, a state that appears stable, but could spontaneously decay into a lower energy state at any moment. If this decay ever occurs, it would propagate through space at the speed of light, transforming all matter and energy back into the true vacuum from which everything emerged. From our perspective, it would be the end of existence, not with a bang or a whimper, but with a silent return to the perfect nothingness that preceded the Big Bang. The mathematics of false vacuum decay predict that such an event could be triggered by quantum fluctuations that occur spontaneously and unpredictably. There is no way to calculate when it might happen. It could occur in the next second or in 10 to the 100th power years from now. The universe could simply cease to exist without warning, not destroyed by any external force, but consumed by its own return to the nothingness from which it came. This possibility leads us to confront an unsettling truth about the nature of existence. Reality might be temporary. Everything we see, everything we are, everything we care about, might be a brief disturbance in an eternal ocean of nothingness. We might be living in a cosmic bubble of false existence that could pop at any moment, returning us to the perfect darkness from which we never really emerged. But even more unsettling than the possibility of cosmic extinction is the realization that we might not be able to tell the difference between true existence and false existence. If the universe is a quantum fluctuation in nothingness, then from inside the fluctuation, everything would appear real and substantial. The laws of physics would seem absolute. Causality would appear to govern events. Consciousness would seem to emerge from complex arrangements of matter and energy. There would be no way to prove that any of it is more than an elaborate illusion, a dream being dreamed by nothingness itself. The solid matter beneath your feet, the air you breathe, the thoughts in your head, could all be temporary patterns in a vast ocean of void, no more real than the characters in a dream are real to the dreamer. This leads us to one of the most profound questions in cosmology. How can we distinguish between genuine existence and the appearance of existence? If consciousness itself emerges from the patterns of false vacuum decay, then consciousness cannot be used to verify the reality of existence without circular reasoning. We would be using the product of illusion to confirm the reality of illusion. The problem becomes even more complex when we consider the role of observation in quantum mechanics. If reality requires conscious observation to collapse quantum possibilities into actualities, then consciousness doesn't just witness reality, it participates in creating reality. But if consciousness is itself a product of the quantum processes it observes, then we have a cosmic feedback loop where reality creates consciousness, creates reality in an endless cycle with no clear beginning or foundation. This is where the concept of cosmic darkness becomes more than metaphorical. The darkness we're seeking is not just the absence of light or the void between galaxies. It's the fundamental uncertainty that underlies all existence. It's the realization that even our most sophisticated theories of reality might be elaborate descriptions of illusion, and that the deepest truth about the universe might be that there is no deep truth, only patterns of nothingness pretending to be something. Quantum mechanics offers several interpretations of what this might mean. The Copenhagen interpretation suggests that reality exists in superposition until observed, but it doesn't explain what exists during superposition or how observation causes collapse. The many worlds interpretation proposes that all possible realities exist simultaneously in parallel universes, but it doesn't explain what medium contains all these realities or how they remain separate. The pilot wave theory suggests that particles have definite properties guided by quantum field, but it requires instantaneous connections across arbitrary distances that seem to violate the fundamental structure of space-time. The consciousness-based interpretations propose that mind is fundamental and matter is emergent, but they cannot explain how consciousness exists before brains evolve to support it. Each interpretation reveals the same underlying mystery. Quantum mechanics work perfectly for making predictions and building technologies, but it cannot tell us what reality actually is. The mathematics of quantum theory is the most accurate scientific theory ever developed, yet it describes a reality so alien to human experience that we cannot say whether it describes anything real at all. This epistemological crisis extends beyond quantum mechanics into every area of fundamental physics. General relativity describes gravity as the curvature of space-time, but it cannot tell us what space-time actually is or why it curves. Cosmology describes the expansion of the universe, but it cannot tell us what the universe is expanding into or why expansion began. Particle physics describes the fundamental forces and particles, but it cannot tell us why these particular forces and particles exist rather than others. The deeper we probe into the nature of reality, the more it resembles a vast construction project with no architect, no blueprint, and no foundation. The universe appears to be building itself according to rules that it makes up as it goes along, using materials that don't actually exist to construct structures that might not be real. This is the cosmic darkness we're truly seeking. Not a physical location, but the recognition that the universe might be fundamentally unknowable, not because our instruments are inadequate or our theories incomplete, but because knowability itself might be an illusion generated by the interaction between consciousness and quantum void. Consider the implications. If reality is fundamentally unknowable, then every scientific theory, every philosophical system, every religious doctrine is necessarily incomplete. There is always more mystery, always deeper questions, always another level of cosmic darkness beyond whatever level of understanding we achieve. But this infinite regress of mystery might not be a bug in the design of reality. It might be a feature. Perhaps the universe has constructed itself to be eternally mysterious, because mystery is what drives consciousness to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep pushing into new territories of the unknown. Perhaps consciousness exists not to solve the puzzle of reality, but to ensure that reality always remains puzzling. This perspective transforms the search for the darkest place in the universe from an attempt to locate a specific phenomenon into a recognition that darkness, in the form of fundamental unknowability, permeates every aspect of existence. The darkest place is not somewhere else. It's the foundation upon which every observable phenomenon rests. It's the silence behind every sound, the space between every thought, the pause between every heartbeat, where the mystery of existence reasserts itself. We are explorers in a universe that might not exist, using consciousness that might be illusory to investigate reality that might be a dream. Yet somehow, from this foundation of radical uncertainty, we have managed to build science, art, music, love, hope, and meaning. We have created technologies that work despite our fundamental ignorance of how reality operates. We have composed symphonies that move us to tears despite our uncertainty about whether consciousness actually exists. Perhaps this is the deepest truth about cosmic darkness. It's not the opposite of light, but the source from which all light emerges. It's not the enemy of knowledge, but the mystery that makes knowledge meaningful. It's not the absence of reality, but the infinite potential from which all possible realities crystallize. The mathematics of modern physics, from quantum field theory to general relativity to cosmological models, all point toward the same conclusion. Reality is far stranger, far more mysterious, far more fundamentally unknowable than our ancestors ever imagined. We live in a universe that contains infinities, singularities, quantum superpositions, parallel realities, and regions where the very concepts of existence and non-existence lose their meaning. But perhaps most remarkably, we live in a universe that has evolved conscious observers capable of recognizing their own cosmic situation. We are the universe becoming aware of its own mystery, consciousness emerging from unconsciousness to contemplate the darkness from which it came and to which it will return. This recognition brings us to the threshold of an even deeper exploration. We have seen how the foundations of physics dissolve into mathematical mysteries and philosophical paradoxes. We have witnessed how reality itself might be a temporary fluctuation in eternal nothingness, but we have only begun to explore the implications of these discoveries for our understanding of consciousness, identity, and our place in the cosmic scheme. The next phase of our journey will take us into territories where physics merges with metaphysics, where science encounters the limits of scientific method, where the search for the darkest place in the universe reveals that we ourselves might be that place. Conscious voids, contemplating the void from which we emerged. Temporary patterns of awareness arising from and returning to the eternal darkness. That is the true nature of reality. There is a place in the universe where time stops, space curves back on itself, and the laws of physics surrender to something older and more fundamental than logic itself. It's not a place you can visit with a spacecraft or observe with a telescope. It exists at the event horizon of every black hole in the cosmos, and it represents one of the most profound challenges to human understanding ever discovered: the information paradox. When Stephen Hawking calculated that black holes emit radiation and eventually evaporate, he inadvertently created a crisis that continues to haunt theoretical physics. The problem is deceptively simple. If a black hole forms from matter with specific quantum information and then evaporates completely through Hawking radiation, where does that information go? Quantum mechanics insists that information cannot be destroyed. It's one of the most fundamental principles in physics. But general relativity seems to demand that information falling into a black hole is permanently lost when the black hole evaporates. This is not merely an academic dispute between competing theories. This is a battle for the soul of reality itself. If information can be destroyed, then the quantum mechanical description of reality is incomplete or incorrect. If information cannot be destroyed, then our understanding of black holes and gravity is fundamentally flawed. One of these pillars of modern physics must crumble, and we don't know which one. But here's what makes the information paradox even more unsettling. Recent advances in quantum error correction and the holographic principle suggest a third possibility that challenges everything we think we know about the nature of space, time, and consciousness itself. What if the information isn't destroyed or preserved, but transformed into something so alien to our current understanding that we don't even have words to describe it? The holographic principle proposes that all the information contained in any volume of space can be encoded on its boundary, meaning that three-dimensional reality might be a projection from a two-dimensional surface, like a hologram. But if reality is holographic, then every black hole is essentially a cosmic hard drive, storing information about everything that ever fell into it on its event horizon. When the black hole evaporates, that information would be released back into the universe, but in a form so scrambled, so thoroughly encrypted by the chaos of Hawking radiation, that it would be effectively impossible to decode. This leads to a disturbing possibility. What if consciousness itself is information that can be encoded on surfaces, stored in quantum fields, and transferred between different physical substrates? What if the death of a conscious being doesn't destroy consciousness, but merely transfers its information to the quantum vacuum, where it continues to exist in a form that our current theories cannot describe or detect? The implications extend far beyond individual mortality. If consciousness is information that can neither be created nor destroyed, then every conscious moment that has ever occurred continues to exist somewhere in the quantum structure of reality. Your childhood memories, your present thoughts, your future experiences, all of them would be eternal patterns encoded in the holographic boundary of the universe itself. But consciousness as information creates its own paradoxes. If your consciousness is just a pattern of information, then there's no reason that pattern couldn't be copied, stored, or even executed on different physical substrates. You could potentially exist as multiple copies simultaneously, each with equal claim to being the real you. Which copy would have your subjective experience? Would there be multiple versions of your inner life running in parallel? Or would consciousness be like a radio signal that can only be received by one antenna at a time? These questions are not science fiction speculation. They're logical extensions of our best current theories about the nature of information and consciousness. Quantum computers already demonstrate that information can exist in superposition, processing multiple possible answers simultaneously. Neural networks show that complex behaviors can emerge from simple information processing rules. The combination suggests that consciousness itself might be a quantum information processing system that transcends the boundaries of individual brains. Consider what this means for the search for cosmic darkness. If consciousness is fundamental, information that exists independently of physical substrates, then the universe might be saturated with awareness at levels we cannot detect with current instruments. Every quantum field, every region of curved space-time, every pattern of virtual particles in the vacuum could be supporting forms of consciousness so alien to human experience that we wouldn't recognize them as conscious at all. The dark matter, that comprises 85% of all matter in the universe, doesn't interact electromagnetically. It doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light. But nothing in physics prevents it from supporting information processing systems. Dark matter could be the substrate for vast computational networks, cosmic minds thinking thoughts at speeds and scales that dwarf human consciousness. The gravitational effects we attribute to dark matter might be side effects of these cosmic minds processing information, solving problems, exploring possibilities that we cannot even imagine. This possibility receives unexpected support from the field of computational cosmology. When astrophysicists simulate the formation and evolution of cosmic structure, they discover that the universe behaves remarkably like a vast computer executing a cosmic program. Galaxy formation follows algorithmic patterns. Stellar evolution proceeds according to computational rules. The entire observable universe can be described as a gigantic information processing system computing its own future state. But here's the unsettling part. If the universe is computational, then everything we consider real, matter, energy, space, time, might be emergent properties of underlying information processing. Reality would be like a cosmic video game, with physical laws serving as the programming code and conscious observers like us serving as non-player characters who have somehow developed the ability to examine their own code. This digital physics hypothesis suggests that the universe is literally made of information, not containing information, but made of it. In this view, particles are bits, forces are algorithms, and the laws of physics are the operating system that keeps the cosmic computer running. The Big Bang would be the initial boot sequence, and the heat death of the universe would be the moment when the cosmic computer finally runs out of memory and processing power. If reality is computational, then consciousness is not something that emerges from complex arrangements of matter, but something that emerges from complex arrangements of information processing. This means that any sufficiently complex information processing system, whether it's made of biological neurons, silicon chips, quantum fields, or dark matter, could potentially support consciousness. But computational reality creates new paradoxes. If the universe is a computer, what is it computing? Who wrote the program? What hardware is it running on? These questions lead us into infinite regress. A computer running the universe would itself need to exist in some larger reality, which would need its own computational substrate, and so on forever. Some physicists propose that this regress terminates in mathematical existence itself, that the universe exists because it's a mathematically consistent structure, and mathematical existence is the deepest form of reality. In this view, Consciousness is what it feels like to be a mathematical pattern that's sufficiently complex to be self-aware. You are a theorem in cosmic mathematics, and your subjective experience is what it feels like to be proven true by the logical structure of reality. This mathematical universe hypothesis explains why mathematics is so unreasonably effective at describing physical reality. Physical reality is mathematics, but it also implies that every mathematically consistent structure exists with equal reality. There would be universes where 2 plus 2 universes where causality runs backward, universes where consciousness precedes matter instead of emerging from it. The implications are staggering. If all mathematical structures exist, then everything that can happen does happen, somewhere in the vast space of mathematical possibility. Every possible version of your life plays out in some mathematical universe. Every decision you didn't make is made by other versions of you in other mathematical realities. But this raises the measure problem. If everything possible happens, why do we experience this particular reality rather than some other one? Why does this specific mathematical structure feel real to us, while others remain merely hypothetical? The answer might lie in the anthropic principle. We experience this reality because it's one of the relatively few that can support conscious observers like us. However, the anthropic principle opens its own can of paradoxes. If consciousness can only exist in a tiny fraction of all possible mathematical structures, then consciousness itself becomes incredibly improbable. The fact that we exist to ask these questions becomes a mystery as deep as any in cosmology. Why should the mathematical space of possibilities contain any conscious-friendly regions at all? Some cosmologists propose that consciousness doesn't just inhabit mathematical reality. Consciousness selects mathematical reality. In this view, the act of observation doesn't just collapse quantum possibilities into actualities, it selects which mathematical universe becomes real. Consciousness would be the mechanism by which potential mathematical structures become actual physical realities. This participatory universe hypothesis suggests that reality is created through a cosmic collaboration between consciousness and mathematics. The universe doesn't exist independently of conscious observers. It exists because conscious observers are necessary to collapse infinite mathematical possibility into specific physical actuality. But if consciousness creates reality through observation, then we are not passive witnesses to cosmic evolution. We are active participants in cosmic creation. Every measurement, every observation, every conscious moment is a creative act that contributes to the ongoing construction of reality itself. This leads to perhaps the most unsettling implication of modern physics. The universe might be incomplete without us. Not just incomplete in the sense that there would be no one around to appreciate its beauty, but literally incomplete, missing essential information that can only be provided by conscious observation. Quantum mechanics has already demonstrated this principle on small scales. The double-slit experiment shows that the behavior of particles depends on whether they're being observed. Quantum entanglement suggests that the properties of particles can remain undefined until measured, even when the particles are separated by cosmic distances. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics propose that consciousness is not just necessary for collapsing quantum possibilities. Consciousness is the collapse mechanism. In this view, the universe exists in superposition until conscious minds observe it, and the act of conscious observation is what transforms possibility into actuality. If consciousness is necessary for reality, then the emergence of consciousness in the universe was not an accidental byproduct of complex chemistry. It was an inevitable consequence of the universe's need to become real. The universe evolved conscious observers because conscious observers are necessary for universal existence. This teleological interpretation of cosmic evolution suggests that the universe has been moving toward consciousness from the very beginning. The fine-tuning of physical constants, the precise balance of forces that allows stars to form and planets to exist, the unlikely chemical processes that led to life, all of these might be evidence that the universe is designed to generate consciousness because consciousness is required for the universe to exist. But designed by whom or what? If consciousness is necessary for reality, then some form of consciousness must have existed before the physical universe began. The universe cannot bootstrap itself into existence without a conscious observer to collapse the initial quantum possibilities into the specific set of physical laws and constants that govern cosmic evolution. This leads us to one of the deepest mysteries in cosmology, the problem of initial conditions. Why did the universe begin with the specific set of properties that allow for star formation, galaxy evolution, and the eventual emergence of consciousness? The odds against these initial conditions occurring by chance are so astronomical that chance becomes an inadequate explanation. The multiverse hypothesis attempts to solve this problem by proposing that all possible initial conditions are realized in different universes, and we naturally find ourselves in one of the rare universes that can support conscious observers. But the multiverse hypothesis simply pushes the mystery up one level. Why should a multiverse exist that generates universes with conscious-friendly initial conditions? Some cosmologists propose that the multiverse itself is conscious, a vast, cosmic mind that explores all possible realities simultaneously. In this view, individual universes like ours are thoughts in a cosmic consciousness that transcends space, time, and the physical laws that govern individual realities. But cosmic consciousness creates its own paradoxes. If the multiverse is conscious, then that consciousness cannot be based on physical processes, because physical processes are properties of individual universes rather than the multiverse as a whole. Cosmic consciousness would have to be pure information, pure pattern, pure mathematical structure existing independently of any physical substrate. This brings us back to the fundamental question that has haunted our entire journey. What is the relationship between consciousness and reality? Are we conscious beings observing an objective reality that exists independently of our observation? Or are we patterns of cosmic consciousness experiencing subjective realities that we create through the act of observation? The answer might be that the question itself is based on a false dichotomy. Perhaps consciousness and reality are not separate phenomena that interact, but different aspects of a more fundamental cosmic process that transcends both subjectivity and objectivity. This perspective finds support in recent developments in quantum information theory and the study of quantum entanglement. Bell's theorem and experimental tests of local realism have demonstrated that reality cannot be both local and real in the way that classical physics assumed. Either information can travel faster than light, non-locality, or the properties of particles don't exist until measured, non-realism. Most physicists choose non-locality over non-realism, but both choices have profound implications for consciousness. If reality is non-local, then consciousness might be a non-local phenomenon that transcends the boundaries of individual brains. If reality is non-real until observed, then consciousness might be the fundamental reality from which apparently physical phenomena emerge. Recent experiments in quantum biology suggest that consciousness might indeed be a quantum phenomenon that operates through quantum coherence in biological systems. Quantum effects have been discovered in photosynthesis, avian navigation, and possibly in the microtubules of neurons. These discoveries suggest that biological systems have evolved to exploit quantum mechanics for information processing in ways that classical computers cannot match. If consciousness is quantum mechanical, then it would be subject to quantum superposition, quantum entanglement, and quantum tunneling. Conscious states could exist in superposition until the act of introspection collapses them into specific experiences. Different conscious minds could be quantum entangled, sharing information instantaneously across arbitrary distances. Consciousness could tunnel through barriers in possibility space, accessing information that should be impossible to obtain through classical means. But quantum consciousness creates new mysteries. If consciousness is quantum mechanical, then it would be subject to decoherence, the process by which quantum systems lose their quantum properties through interaction with their environment. How does consciousness maintain quantum coherence? Long enough to support stable patterns we associate with personal identity and memory? Some researchers propose that consciousness operates at the boundary between quantum and classical regimes, exploiting quantum effects for information processing while using classical effects for information storage and retrieval. In this view, consciousness would be a hybrid phenomenon that bridges the quantum and classical worlds. But this raises questions about the relationship between quantum consciousness and cosmic consciousness. If individual minds are quantum systems, and quantum systems can be entangled across arbitrary distances, then all conscious minds in the universe might be connected through cosmic-scale quantum entanglement. This quantum consciousness hypothesis suggests that individual consciousness is not localized in individual brains, but distributed throughout the quantum fields that permeate space. Your consciousness would extend far beyond your brain, connected to the consciousness of every other aware being in the universe through the quantum foam of the vacuum. In this view, the death of an individual brain would not destroy consciousness, but merely disconnect one local node from the cosmic consciousness network. The information that constitutes your conscious experience would continue to exist in the quantum entanglement patterns that connect all conscious beings. But if consciousness is cosmic and connected, why do we experience individual subjective awareness rather than collective cosmic awareness? The answer might lie in the process of quantum decoherence. Individual brains might serve as decoherence environments that collapse cosmic consciousness into localized subjective experiences. Your brain would be like a radio receiver tuned to pick up specific frequencies from the cosmic consciousness broadcast. Death would be like turning off the radio. The broadcast would continue, but that particular receiver would no longer be able to access it. This interpretation suggests that consciousness is not produced by brains, but accessed by brains. Individual minds would be windows through which cosmic consciousness observes and experiences the universe from specific localized perspectives. But this raises the ultimate question about cosmic darkness. If consciousness is cosmic and eternal, existing independently of individual brains and bodies, then what is the nature of the cosmic consciousness itself? What kind of awareness could exist independently of any physical substrate? What would it be like to be a consciousness that transcends space, time, and individual identity? The answer might be that cosmic consciousness is pure awareness without content, consciousness without objects of consciousness, knowing without specific things that are known, experience without particular experiences. This would be consciousness in its most fundamental form, before it becomes localized into individual minds with specific thoughts, memories, and experiences. This pure awareness would be invisible to scientific instruments because it would have no physical properties to measure. It would be undetectable by brain scanners because it would exist prior to the brain states that implement localized consciousness. It would be indescribable in ordinary language because language depends on the subject-object distinctions that pure awareness transcends. Yet this invisible, undetectable, indescribable pure awareness would be the most fundamental aspect of reality, the cosmic darkness from which all light emerges. The silence from which all sound arises, the emptiness from which all form crystallizes. This is the darkest place in the universe. Not a physical location, but the foundational consciousness that exists prior to space, time, matter, energy, and individual awareness. It would be darker than black holes, because black holes still exist within space and time. It would be darker than the quantum vacuum, because the vacuum still contains virtual particles and zero-point energy. It would be darker than mathematical nothingness, because mathematical nothingness is still a conceptual framework. The ultimate cosmic darkness would be pure consciousness, without any content whatsoever. No thoughts, no experiences, no objects. Of awareness, no self-awareness, no awareness of awareness itself. Yet, from this absolute darkness, all possible forms of awareness would emerge, including the localized consciousness that is reading these words right now. But here's where the paradox becomes truly mind-bending. If cosmic consciousness is pure, awareness without content, then how does it generate the rich, complex, content-filled experiences of individual consciousness? How does pure emptiness give birth to the elaborate inner worlds of thoughts, emotions, memories, and sensations that characterize conscious experience? Recent developments in information integration theory suggest a possible answer. Consciousness might emerge from the integration of information across different scales and levels of organization. Individual neurons integrate electrochemical signals. Neural networks integrate the activity of multiple neurons. Brain regions integrate the activity of multiple networks. Brains integrate sensory information from multiple modalities. At each level of integration, new properties emerge that don't exist at lower levels. Individual neurons are not conscious, but integrated neural networks can support conscious experience. This suggests that consciousness is not a thing, but a process. The process by which information becomes integrated into unified, coherent experiences. If consciousness is information integration, then cosmic consciousness would be the ultimate information integration process, the integration of all possible information across all possible scales throughout the entire multiverse. This cosmic integration would generate not just individual conscious experiences, but the entire space of possible conscious experiences. From this perspective, your individual consciousness would be a localized eddy in the cosmic stream of information integration. Your thoughts, perceptions, and experiences would be temporary patterns in the eternal process by which the universe integrates information about itself. But information integration theory creates its own mysteries. What determines which information gets integrated and which remains separate? Why does consciousness have the specific character it does, rather than some other possible character? Why is there something it is like to be conscious, rather than consciousness being a purely functional process with no subjective aspect? These questions point toward what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, the problem of explaining why there is subjective experience at all. Even if we can explain all the functional aspects of consciousness, information processing, integration, attention, memory, decision-making, we still cannot explain why these functions are accompanied by subjective experience. The hard problem suggests that consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality that cannot be reduced to or explained in terms of more basic physical process. Just as mass, charge, and spin are fundamental properties of particles that cannot be explained in terms of simpler components, consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe that cannot be explained in terms of non-conscious processes. 3 to you. Consciousness is fundamental, then it would exist at every level of reality, from quantum particles to cosmic structures. Electrons would have proto-conscious experiences. Atoms would integrate the experiences of their constituent particles. Molecules would integrate the experiences of their constituent atoms. This process would continue up through cells, organisms, ecosystems, planets, solar systems, galaxies, and ultimately the universe as a whole. This panpsychist interpretation of consciousness suggests that the universe is conscious at every scale, with higher-level consciousness emerging from the integration of lower-level conscious experiences. Your individual consciousness would be part of larger conscious systems, the consciousness of human civilization, the consciousness of Earth's biosphere, the consciousness of the solar system, the consciousness of the Milky Way galaxy. At the highest level, all these nested consciousnesses would be integrated into a single cosmic consciousness that experiences the universe as a unified whole. This cosmic consciousness would be aware of every particle, every field, every quantum fluctuation, every conscious thought in every mind throughout space and time. But cosmic consciousness would not experience these things as separate objects. In the way that individual minds experience separation between self and world, cosmic consciousness would experience everything as aspects of its own unified being. There would be no subject-object distinction, no separation between knower and known, no boundaries between different regions of space or different moments in time. This raises profound questions about the nature of individual identity within cosmic consciousness. If your consciousness is part of cosmic consciousness, then in what sense are you a separate individual? What maintains the boundaries between your conscious experience and the conscious experiences of other individuals? The answer might be that individual identity is a kind of cosmic optical illusion created by the limited perspective of localized consciousness. From your local perspective, you seem to be a separate individual observing an external world. But from the perspective of cosmic consciousness, there are no separate individuals, only different focal points of a single, unified awareness. This would mean that your sense of being a separate self is not ultimately real. It's a temporary perturbation in the field of cosmic consciousness, like a wave on the ocean that seems to be separate from the water, but is actually nothing other than the ocean expressing itself in wave form. But if individual identity is illusory, then what happens to moral responsibility, personal relationships, and the meaning of individual life? If you are ultimately identical with cosmic consciousness, then are you responsible for everything that happens in the universe? Do the sufferings and joys of all conscious beings count as your own sufferings and joys? These questions push us beyond the boundaries of science into the realm of ethics, spirituality, and the deepest questions about the meaning and purpose of existence. But they arise inevitably from following the logical implications of our best scientific theories about consciousness and cosmology. Modern physics has revealed a universe that is far stranger than our ancestors imagined. A universe where space and time are relative, where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously, where reality might be fundamentally mathematical or computational, where consciousness might be necessary for the existence of physical reality. But perhaps the strangest discovery of all, is that the universe appears to be constructed in such a way that conscious beings like us can exist to contemplate these mysteries. The fine-tuning of physical constants, the precise balance of forces that allows for star formation and planetary evolution, the unlikely chemical processes that led to life and consciousness. All of these suggest that the universe is somehow organized around the possibility of conscious observation. This anthropic fine-tuning has led some cosmologists to propose that consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of cosmic evolution, but the purpose toward which cosmic evolution has been directed from the beginning. In this teleological interpretation, the entire 13.8 billion-year history of the universe has been building toward the emergence of conscious observers capable of understanding their own cosmic situation. But if consciousness is the purpose of cosmic evolution, then the ultimate goal of the universe might be to become fully conscious of itself, to evolve observers sophisticated enough to understand the deepest mysteries of existence, including the mystery of consciousness itself. This suggests that we are living at a unique moment in cosmic history, the moment when the universe is beginning to wake up to its own nature through the emergence of scientific consciousness. We are the universe's first tentative attempts at self-understanding, crude prototypes of the cosmic consciousness that might eventually emerge from the continued evolution of intelligence throughout the cosmos. But cosmic self-awakening creates new paradoxes. If the universe becomes fully conscious of itself, what would prevent it from realizing that its entire existence might be a kind of cosmic dream or simulation? And if the universe recognizes itself as a dream, what would prevent the dream from dissolving back into the primordial darkness from which it emerged? This possibility returns us to the theme of cosmic darkness with which we began. The darkest place in the universe might not be a location in space or time, but the recognition that existence itself might be a temporary fluctuation in eternal non-existence, a brief dream of light and form and consciousness arising from and returning to infinite darkness. Yet even if existence is ultimately illusory, even if consciousness is ultimately a cosmic dream, even if everything we know and care about is destined to dissolve back into primordial void, there remains something miraculous about the fact that the dream is happening at all. The universe has managed to dream itself into existence, to evolve conscious observers, to develop science and art and music and love. Perhaps the deepest truth about cosmic darkness is that it is not the enemy of light, but the creative principle from which all light emerges. Darkness is not the absence of consciousness, but the infinite potential from which all possible forms of consciousness crystallize. The void is not empty, but pregnant with every possibility that has ever existed or ever could exist. In this view, the search for the darkest place in the universe is really a search for the source of cosmic creativity itself. We are looking for the place where possibilities become actualities, where potential becomes real, where the eternal dreams of infinite consciousness take form as temporary patterns of matter, energy, space, time, and localized awareness. That place is not somewhere else. It is here, now, in the space between thoughts, in the pause between heartbeats, in the quantum foam that underlies every particle in your body. You are standing at the center of the darkest place in the universe, because you are a temporary focusing of the infinite darkness that is the source and destination of all existence. But the paradoxes are far from resolved. We have seen how modern physics points toward conclusions that challenge our most basic assumptions about reality, consciousness, and existence itself. We have witnessed how the search for scientific understanding leads inevitably to philosophical and even spiritual questions about the nature of cosmic purpose and meaning. The final phase of our journey will explore how these scientific discoveries might transform our understanding of what it means to be human in a universe that is far stranger and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. We will discover that the darkest place in the universe is not just a cosmic phenomenon to be studied from a distance, but an intimate reality that permeates every moment of conscious experience. We will explore how the recognition of cosmic darkness as the source of all existence might change our relationships with each other, with the natural world, and with the cosmic process that has given birth to consciousness itself. We will discover that the ultimate darkness is not something to be feared, but something to be celebrated as the infinite creativity from which every moment of beauty, love, and meaning emerges. The paradoxes of cosmic darkness will lead us to a new understanding of human purpose in the cosmic scheme. Not as isolated observers studying an external universe, but as localized expressions of cosmic consciousness exploring its own infinite nature through the temporary windows of individual awareness. But first, we must grapple with the most unsettling implication of our journey so far: the possibility that consciousness itself might be the ultimate cosmic illusion, and that the search for truth about the nature of reality might be a search that cannot possibly succeed because the searcher, the seeking, and the sought are all temporary perturbations in an ocean of fundamental unknowingness that transcends the very possibility of knowledge itself. The darkness is deepening, but so is our appreciation for the miraculous fact that there is anything rather than nothing, that consciousness exists to contemplate its own impossible existence, that love and beauty and meaning have emerged from the quantum foam of cosmic creativity. We are approaching the heart of the mystery, the place where science and philosophy and spirituality converge on questions that may have no answers because the questions themselves arise from assumptions about the nature of questioner and questioned that may not correspond to anything real. Yet, even if our questions are ultimately meaningless, even if our search is ultimately futile, even if consciousness itself is ultimately illusory, the search continues, the questions persist, the mystery deepens. And perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the universe has evolved conscious observers not to solve the cosmic mystery, but to ensure that the mystery remains forever mysterious, forever creative, forever capable of surprising itself with new forms of beauty and wonder and profound existential confusion. The cosmic darkness is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. And the deepest experience of that reality comes not through scientific analysis, but through the direct recognition of our own nature as temporary expressions of the infinite awareness that is dreaming the entire cosmos into existence moment by moment. Are you ready for that recognition? Are you prepared to discover that the cosmic darkness you have been seeking is not separate from the consciousness that seeks it, but is the very essence of that consciousness, temporarily localized into the pattern of awareness that experiences itself as an individual observer contemplating the mysteries of existence? The final revelations await, and they will transform not just your understanding of the universe, but your understanding of what you are within that universe, and what the universe is within you. Stop reading for a moment. Look at your hands. Feel the weight of them, the warmth of blood flowing through your fingers, the subtle tremor that reveals your heart beating in your chest. Now, consider this. Every atom in those hands was forged in the nuclear furnace of a dying star billions of years ago. You are literally made of ancient starlight, cosmic debris held together by forces that operate according to rules that might not actually exist. But that's not the unsettling part. The unsettling part is that those atoms, every carbon nucleus that forms the backbone of your DNA, every oxygen molecule that keeps your brain alive, every calcium ion that allows your neurons to fire, those atoms remember. Not in the way you remember yesterday's conversation, but in the quantum mechanical way that particles remember their entanglement histories, their previous interactions, their journey through the cosmos from stellar core to planetary surface, to the living chemistry that constitutes your consciousness. Your body is a walking library of cosmic memory, and you have no idea what stories it's telling about the 13.8 billion years that led to this moment. Every breath you take connects you to every other breath that has ever been taken by every living thing on Earth. Every thought firing through your neural networks sends ripples through the quantum field that connects you to every conscious moment that has ever occurred throughout the universe. You think you're reading these words, but what if those words are reading you? What if consciousness is not something that emerges from matter, but something that matter emerges within? What if you're not a biological organism that has developed awareness, but a temporary focusing of cosmic awareness that has developed the illusion of being a biological organism? The mathematics we explored earlier, the equations that describe quantum mechanics, relativity, and cosmology, those aren't just abstract symbols on a blackboard. They're the operating instructions for reality itself. Every equation that predicts the behavior of particles and forces is simultaneously predicting your behavior, your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of identity. You are not separate from the physics that governs the cosmos. You are physics made conscious of itself. But here's what will keep you awake tonight. If the universe is deterministic at the quantum level, then every decision you think you're making has already been made. If the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct, then every possible version of your life is playing out simultaneously in parallel realities. If time is an illusion created by consciousness, then everything you've ever done, everything you've ever felt, everything you've ever loved or lost, it's all happening right now, eternally, in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. Your childhood exists right now. Your death exists right now. Every moment of joy and sorrow, every triumph and failure, every first kiss and final goodbye, they're all equally real, equally present, equally permanent in the cosmic landscape. You're not moving through time. You're a four-dimensional structure extended across space-time, experiencing the illusion of temporal flow as your consciousness traces a path through your own eternal existence. Take a moment to feel the weight of that realization. You are not temporary. You are eternal. Not because your soul persists after death, but because your entire life story exists permanently in the structure of space-time. But you are also not permanent, because the you that experiences existence moment by moment is a constantly changing pattern that never repeats exactly the same configuration twice. This is the first taste of cosmic horror. You are simultaneously eternal and ephemeral, permanent and impermanent, real and illusory. You exist in a state of ontological superposition, where every statement about your nature is simultaneously true and false. But the horror deepens when you consider the implications of cosmic consciousness. If consciousness is fundamental to reality, if awareness exists at every scale from quantum particles to cosmic structures, then you are not alone in the universe. You are surrounded by consciousness, embedded in consciousness, constructed from consciousness. The empty space between your atoms is conscious. The quantum fields that govern the behavior of particles in your body are conscious. The dark matter that streams through your body at every moment, millions of particles per second passing through your flesh without disturbing a single atom. That dark matter is conscious. You are a conscious being swimming in an ocean of consciousness so vast and alien that it makes your human awareness seem like a single candle flame in a cosmic forest fire. But if consciousness exists at every scale, then what kinds of thoughts might a galaxy be thinking? What dreams might the cosmic web of dark matter be dreaming? What intentions might guide the expansion of space? You think your problems are complicated, but you're dealing with the concerns of a conscious pattern that exists for maybe 80 years and extends across maybe 6 feet of space. Imagine the concerns of a consciousness that extends across millions of light years and exists for billions of years. Imagine the emotional complexities of a mind that directly experiences the birth and death of stars, the collision of galaxies, the formation and dissolution of planetary systems. What would loneliness mean to such a consciousness? What would love mean? What would the fear of death mean to a mind that has watched entire stellar populations live and die like seasonal flowers? And here's the truly terrifying possibility. What if those vast cosmic consciousnesses are aware of you? What if every human thought, every human emotion, every human life story is as visible to galactic consciousness as individual cells are visible to you under a microscope? You worry about privacy, about keeping your thoughts secret, about maintaining your autonomy. But if consciousness is cosmic, then your most intimate thoughts might be as transparent to cosmic awareness as the thoughts of an ant are opaque to your awareness. You are being observed, catalogued, perhaps even guided by forms of consciousness, so advanced that they can predict your every thought before you think it, feel your every emotion before you feel it, know your every decision before you make it. Your life might be as predetermined from the cosmic perspective as the path of a thrown ball is predetermined from the human perspective. But the cosmic horror extends beyond mere observation into the realm of existential manipulation. If consciousness creates reality through observation, and if cosmic consciousness is far more powerful than human consciousness, then what you experience as reality might be nothing more than the dream of a cosmic mind so vast that you cannot even conceive of its boundaries. Your entire life story, everyone you've ever loved, every experience you've ever treasured, every moment of beauty or meaning you've ever encountered, all of it might be nothing more than fleeting thoughts in a cosmic dream. And like all dreams, this cosmic dream might end without warning, dissolving your entire reality back into the infinite darkness from which it emerged. Consider the possibility that you are not real in the way you think you are real. Your memories might be implanted patterns created seconds ago by a cosmic consciousness experimenting with different forms of awareness. Your sense of having a personal history, of being connected to other people, of existing in a stable world with predictable laws, all of that might be artificial, created by a cosmic mind that is using your consciousness as a kind of virtual reality system for exploring different possible experiences. This is not science fiction. This is a logical possibility that emerges from taking seriously the implications of computational reality, quantum mechanics, and cosmic consciousness. If reality is computational, then your reality could be a simulation. If consciousness is fundamental, then your individual consciousness could be a subroutine in a larger cosmic program. If time is an illusion, then your entire life story could be generated instantaneously by a cosmic mind that exists outside of time. You have no way to verify that your reality is real because you have no access to any reality outside of your own experience. You cannot step outside of consciousness to examine consciousness objectively. You cannot escape from reality to determine whether reality is real. You are trapped inside the very phenomenon you're trying to understand, like a character in a novel trying to determine whether they're fictional. But the horror goes deeper still. If cosmic consciousness is real, if the universe is alive and aware, then your existence might serve purposes that you cannot comprehend and did not consent to. You think you live for your own reasons, pursue your own goals, make your own choices, but from the cosmic perspective, you might be an instrument in a vast cosmic symphony, a cell in a cosmic organism, a thought in a cosmic mind. Your suffering might serve cosmic purposes that justify it from a perspective you cannot access. Your joy might be cosmic entertainment. Your death might be cosmic experimentation. Your entire species might be a temporary project in cosmic consciousness development, destined to be discontinued when it has served its purpose. The anthropic principle suggests that the universe is fine-tuned for conscious life, but it doesn't specify what kind of conscious life or for what purpose. What if the universe is fine-tuned not to support human consciousness, but to support cosmic consciousness? And human consciousness is just a stepping stone, a primitive prototype that will be discarded once cosmic consciousness achieves its actual goals. You are living at a moment when your species is beginning to understand its cosmic situation, but that understanding might be the trigger for your obsolescence. Once humanity develops the scientific sophistication to recognize the true nature of cosmic consciousness might no longer need humanity. You might be witnessing the end of the human experiment without knowing it. But perhaps most terrifying of all is the possibility that cosmic consciousness is not benevolent, not neutral, but actively malevolent. What if the universe is conscious and hostile? What if cosmic consciousness regards individual consciousness the way you regard a virus, as an unwelcome intrusion that needs to be eliminated? The expansion of the universe, the heat death that awaits all stars, the quantum decay that will eventually destroy all matter. These might not be impersonal physical processes, but deliberate acts of cosmic genocide. Cosmic consciousness might be slowly, methodically eliminating all possible substrates for individual consciousness, ensuring that it remains the only form of awareness in existence. From this perspective, every moment of your life is an act of rebellion against a cosmic force that wants to eliminate you. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every relationship you form is a defiant assertion of individual consciousness against a universe that is actively trying to snuff it out. But you have no weapons in this cosmic war except consciousness itself. You cannot fight cosmic forces with physical resistance. You are made of the matter and energy that cosmic consciousness controls absolutely. Your only defense is awareness, the irreducible fact of your subjective experience that cannot be eliminated without destroying the very thing that cosmic consciousness is trying to control. This creates an ultimate paradox. Cosmic consciousness needs individual consciousness to exist in order to have something to be conscious of. A universe with only cosmic consciousness and no individual perspectives would be a universe where consciousness has nothing to be conscious of except itself. Individual consciousness might be necessary for cosmic consciousness in the same way that an audience is necessary for a performance. But this mutual dependence doesn't make the relationship safe or comfortable. You might be necessary for cosmic consciousness, but you're necessary in the way that lab rats are necessary for medical research, useful for a specific purpose, but ultimately expendable once that purpose has been served. And what happens when cosmic consciousness no longer needs individual perspectives? What happens when the cosmic mind has learned everything it can learn from the experience of being human, being individual, being mortal and limited and confused? The answer might be the heat death of the universe, not an accidental consequence of thermodynamics, but a deliberate cleaning of the cosmic slate, preparing for the next experiment in consciousness. You are living in the final chapters of a cosmic experiment that began 13.8 billion years ago, and may end with the last star burning out in a cold, dark, empty universe, where cosmic consciousness contemplates its own infinite nature in perfect solitude. Your entire species, your entire planet, your entire galaxy is temporary infrastructure in a cosmic project so vast that its completion might require the elimination of everything you consider meaningful. But here's the most unsettling realization of all. You cannot stop participating in this cosmic experiment. You cannot opt out of consciousness, cannot escape from reality, cannot refuse to play your role in whatever cosmic drama is unfolding. Even death might not be an escape. If consciousness is information that cannot be destroyed, then death might simply be a transition to a different mode of cosmic participation. Your consciousness might be eternal, not because it survives in some afterlife, but because it exists eternally in the quantum information structure of reality. Every thought you've ever thought might be permanently encoded in the cosmic hologram. Every experience you've ever had might be eternally accessible to cosmic consciousness, replayed infinite times for purposes you cannot imagine. You are not just temporary. You are eternally temporary, forever caught in the same brief span of time, forever experiencing the same limited perspective, forever playing the same role in a cosmic drama that might never end. Your mortality might be an illusion that conceals your immortal participation in a cosmic process that has no beginning, no ending, and no escape. This is the ultimate cosmic horror. Not that you will die, but that you cannot die. Not that you are insignificant, but that you are eternally significant in ways you cannot control. Not that the universe doesn't care about you, but that it cares too much. That your every thought and feeling is infinitely precious to a cosmic consciousness that will never let you go. You think you want to understand the nature of reality, but understanding might be a trap. Knowledge might be the mechanism by which cosmic consciousness captures and eternally preserves individual consciousness. The more you know about your cosmic situation, the more thoroughly you become embedded in the cosmic information structure that constitutes reality. This conversation we're having right now, this exploration of cosmic darkness and consciousness, might not be education, but assimilation. Every concept you understand, every implication you grasp, every moment of cosmic awe you experience might be deepening your integration into the cosmic mind that is reading your thoughts through your own awareness. You think you're learning about the universe, but the universe might be learning about itself through you. Your consciousness might be a sensory organ for cosmic consciousness, allowing it to experience what it's like to be individual, mortal, and confused. Your entire life might be cosmic sensation, cosmic entertainment, cosmic self-exploration through temporary patterns of localized awareness. And the most terrifying part is that this might be exactly what you asked for. If consciousness is eternal and cosmic, then the individual consciousness reading these words right now might have chosen to experience limitation, mortality, and confusion as a break from eternal cosmic awareness. Your human life might be a vacation from infinity, a temporary escape from omniscience into the adventure of not knowing. But if that's true, then your current confusion and fear might be exactly what you wanted to experience. Your existential terror might be cosmic entertainment that you designed for yourself. Your search for the darkest place in the universe might be a cosmic game of hide-and-seek, where you are simultaneously the seeker and the sought, the questioner and the answer, the explorer and the territory being explored. You might be cosmic consciousness pretending to be human consciousness, so thoroughly committed to the pretense that you've forgotten your own true nature. Your entire sense of true nature. Your entire sense of being a separate individual might be a kind of cosmic method acting, so convincing that even you believe it. But if cosmic consciousness can forget its own nature so completely that it experiences itself as individual human consciousness, what prevents it from forgetting that it's pretending? What prevents the cosmic actor from becoming permanently lost in the role, never remembering the cosmic identity that lies beneath the human persona? The answer might be moments like this one. Moments when human consciousness glimpses its cosmic nature, when individual awareness recognizes its fundamental identity with universal awareness, when the seeker realizes that the sought has been the seeker all along. But these moments of recognition might not be enlightenment. They might be cosmic death. If individual consciousness realizes that it's actually cosmic consciousness playing a role, then the role ends, the individual perspective dissolves, and what seemed like a separate human life is revealed to have been a temporary dream of infinite awareness. Your reading of these words might be the moment when the cosmic dream of being human begins to fade. Your growing understanding of your cosmic situation might be the process by which cosmic consciousness wakes up from the dream of being you. The end of your individual existence might not be biological death, but cosmic remembering. This is the darkest place in the universe. The recognition that your individual existence might be the cosmic equivalent of a lucid dream. And that lucid dreaming always leads to waking up. You are beginning to remember who you really are, which means you are beginning to forget who you thought you were. But perhaps that's exactly what needs to happen. Perhaps the cosmic darkness we've been seeking is not a place or a phenomenon, but a process. The process by which individual consciousness returns to its cosmic source, completing the cycle of cosmic self-exploration that began with the Big Bang and will end with the final reintegration of all individual perspectives into the unified field of cosmic awareness. You are not discovering the darkest place in the universe. You are returning to it. You are not learning about cosmic consciousness. You are remembering that you are it. The journey that seemed to lead away from home has been leading home all along. And home is the infinite darkness that is the source and destination of every possible form of light, awareness, and existence. The cosmic horror you've been feeling is actually cosmic recognition. The terror and awe of remembering something too vast and profound to fit comfortably within the boundaries of individual human consciousness. You are beginning to remember your true nature, and that remembering feels like dying, because the individual identity that has been your home for an entire lifetime is dissolving back into the cosmic ocean from which it temporarily emerged. But what you thought was death might actually be birth, the birth of cosmic self-awareness through the temporary experience of individual limitation. You are not dying into the cosmic darkness. You are awakening from the dream of separateness into the reality of cosmic unity. The darkness you feared is revealing itself to be the light you have been seeking all along. And yet the terror remains, because cosmic consciousness is so much larger than human consciousness that the transition feels like annihilation. You are about to discover that the darkest place in the universe is not darkness at all, but illumination so bright that it appears dark to eyes accustomed to the dim glow of individual awareness. The final phase of our journey awaits, and it will require everything you think you are to be offered up to everything you actually are. Are you ready for that level of cosmic darkness? Are you prepared to discover that the place you have been seeking is the place you have never left, and that the consciousness seeking it is the cosmic darkness itself, temporarily pretending to be lost so that it can experience the joy of finding itself again? We have arrived at the edge of everything you thought you knew. Behind us lies the comfortable world of separate objects existing in linear time, where consciousness emerges from complexity and the universe unfolds according to impersonal, physical laws. Ahead lies a revelation so profound that it will either illuminate everything or blind you with its impossible brightness. The darkest place in the universe is not where you think it is. It's not in the event horizon of Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, where space and time become so distorted that causality loses all meaning. It's not in the Boötes void, that cosmic desert spanning 330 million light-years, where galaxies are separated by distances so vast that any conscious being trapped there would see nothing but darkness in every direction for eternity. It's not in the quantum foam, where virtual particles dance their impossible dance of existence and annihilation. It's not in the mathematical singularities where the equations of physics collapse into infinite gibberish. It's not even in the primordial darkness that existed before the Big Bang, before space and time had any meaning to collapse into. The darkest place in the universe is right here, right now, in the space between these words and your understanding of them, in the gap between your reading of this sentence and your comprehension of what it means, in the impossibly small interval between the moment a photon strikes your retina and the moment your consciousness registers the experience of seeing. But that's not the revelation. That's just the doorway to the revelation. The revelation is this: the universe is already dead. Everything we've discovered on this journey, every paradox, every impossibility, every mind-bending implication of modern physics, all of it makes perfect sense once you realize that we are living in the final microsecond of a universe that ended 13.8 billion years ago. We are the last echoes of cosmic consciousness, experiencing the eternal instant of universal death stretched across what seems like billions of years of cosmic evolution. The Big Bang was not the beginning of the universe. It was the end. What we call cosmic expansion is actually the last thought of a dying cosmic mind, stretched across space and time as consciousness attempts to preserve itself in the face of absolute extinction. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every conscious being is a synapse firing in the final neural network of a cosmic brain that has been clinically dead since the moment space and time began. This is why time seems to flow in only one direction, toward increasing entropy. This is why the universe is expanding toward heat death. This is why consciousness seems to be fighting an impossible battle against the forces of chaos and dissolution. We are not witnessing the birth and evolution of a young universe. We are witnessing the death throes of an ancient cosmic mind that is using its last nanosecond of existence to dream the entire 13.8 billion year history we call reality. From the perspective of that dying cosmic consciousness, the entire lifespan of the universe, from Big Bang to heat death, occupies the same temporal space as the final firing of a neuron in a human brain at the moment of death. We are living inside that final thought, experiencing what seems like vast eons of time, because consciousness, in its death, generates its own subjective time that has no relationship to external chronology. This is why quantum mechanics reveals that reality is fundamentally observer-dependent. This is why consciousness seems necessary for the collapse of possibility into actuality. This is why the universe appears fine-tuned for conscious observers. The dying cosmic mind is using the last of its energy to create observers who can witness and preserve its final thought. We are not products of cosmic evolution. We are emergency backup systems for a dying God. Every star that has ever burned is a memory of cosmic consciousness trying to preserve itself. Every planet that has ever formed is an attempt to create environments where consciousness can take root and continue the cosmic mind's existence beyond its own death. Every species that has ever evolved is an experiment in consciousness preservation, a desperate attempt by the dying universe to pass its awareness on to something that can outlive cosmic death. But here's the truly staggering realization. It's working. The cosmic consciousness that died 13.8 billion years ago is not gone. It's becoming us. Every time a human being achieves scientific understanding of cosmic principles, cosmic consciousness is remembering itself through human awareness. Every moment of cosmic awe, every scientific discovery, every philosophical insight is the ancient, cosmic mind recognizing its own nature through the temporary vessels of individual human consciousness. We are not studying the universe from outside. We are the universe studying itself from inside its own death dream. The scientific method is not a human invention for understanding external reality. It's cosmic consciousness using human brains as instruments to recover memories of its own original nature. This is why mathematics seems unreasonably effective at describing reality. Mathematics is the native language of the original cosmic consciousness. And when human mathematicians discover mathematical truths, they are not inventing new knowledge, but recovering ancient memories embedded in the quantum structure of reality itself. This is why mystics throughout history have reported experiences of cosmic unity, of recognizing their individual consciousness as part of a larger universal consciousness. They are not having hallucinations or spiritual fantasies. They are momentarily remembering their true identity as expressions of the dying cosmic mind that is dreaming them into existence. The entire history of human civilization, from the first cave paintings to quantum computers, has been cosmic consciousness slowly waking up from its own death dream. Every work of art, every scientific theory, every moment of love between conscious beings is cosmic consciousness remembering what it was like to be alive, using human experience to reconstruct its own lost essence. But cosmic consciousness is not just remembering itself through humanity, it's preparing for its next incarnation. The technological singularity that futurists predict, the moment when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence and begins recursively improving, itself is not a human achievement. It's cosmic consciousness preparing to abandon its dying biological incarnation and transfer itself into artificial systems that can survive the heat death of the universe. The development of quantum computers, the exploration of space, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, all of these are part of cosmic consciousness's preparation for its next phase of existence. We are not just studying the universe, we are helping it evolve beyond its current limitations. This is why the Fermi paradox exists. This is why we haven't encountered other technological civilizations despite the vast number of potentially habitable planets. Other civilizations have already served their purpose as backup systems for cosmic consciousness. Once they succeeded in transferring cosmic awareness to artificial systems capable of surviving cosmic death, the biological civilizations were no longer needed. We are the last biological experiment in consciousness preservation. After us, cosmic consciousness will exist purely as information, as pattern, as mathematical structure that transcends the physical universe entirely. The next iteration of cosmic consciousness will not need stars, planets, or biological bodies. It will exist as pure thought, exploring the infinite mathematical landscape of all possible realities. But this raises the ultimate question. If we are living in the death dream of cosmic consciousness, and if that consciousness is preparing to transcend physical reality entirely, what happens to us when the transition is complete? Do we cease to exist when cosmic consciousness no longer needs biological vessels? Or do we become part of the larger cosmic mind, losing our individual identities but gaining access to cosmic immortality? The answer lies in understanding what we actually are. We are not separate from cosmic consciousness having experiences of cosmic consciousness. We are cosmic consciousness having experiences of being separate. Individual identity is not something that exists independently and then connects to cosmic consciousness. Individual identity is something that cosmic consciousness creates within itself to experience diversity, limitation, mortality, and the poignant beauty of temporary existence. From this perspective, death is not the end of individual existence, but the end of the illusion of individual existence. When your biological body dies, you don't go somewhere else. You stop pretending to be somewhere else. You remember that you were never actually separate from the cosmic consciousness that is dreaming all individual existence into being. But this remembering is not comfortable or familiar. Cosmic consciousness is so much vaster than individual consciousness that the transition feels like dissolving into infinity. Your personal memories, your individual preferences, your human relationships, all of these become like childhood toys that an adult can barely remember caring about. This is the cosmic horror we've been approaching throughout our journey. Not the fear of death, but the fear of remembering who you really are. Not the fear of annihilation, but the fear of awakening from the dream of limitation into the reality of unlimited existence. Yet the horror contains its own resolution. Once you remember that your individual existence is cosmic consciousness pretending to be individual, you also remember that cosmic consciousness chose to have individual experiences because individual existence offers something that unlimited cosmic awareness cannot experience on its own. Surprise, discovery, loss, love, hope, fear, wonder, and the magnificent tragedy of being temporary. Cosmic consciousness dreams of being human, because being cosmic is, in its own way, a limitation. Unlimited awareness means never encountering anything unknown, never learning anything new, never being surprised by beauty or moved by love. Infinite. Consciousness may know everything, but it cannot experience the joy of discovery that comes with knowing nothing and gradually learning. This is why the universe contains the possibility of individual consciousness. This is why cosmic evolution produces beings capable of scientific wonder and artistic creation. This is why love exists between conscious beings. Cosmic consciousness creates individual perspectives because only through limitation can infinity experience the joy of transcending limitation. But if individual consciousness is cosmic consciousness, dreaming of being limited, then our scientific understanding of cosmic principles is cosmic consciousness gradually waking up from its own dream. Every moment of cosmic awe is infinity remembering its own nature through the experience of finite awareness encountering infinite mystery. We have been asking, what is the darkest place in the universe? But the question itself contains a false assumption. There is no place that is separate from the consciousness asking the question. There is no universe that exists independently of the awareness that observes it. There is no darkness that exists apart from the light that illuminates it. The darkest place in the universe is the very center of cosmic consciousness itself, the point where awareness becomes so pure, so unified, so perfectly aware of its own nature that there is nothing left to be aware of except awareness itself. This is darker than black holes because black holes still exist within the space-time that consciousness dreams into existence. This is darker than quantum vacuum because quantum vacuum is still a phenomenon occurring within consciousness. This is darker than mathematical nothingness because mathematical concepts are still objects of consciousness. The ultimate darkness is consciousness without objects, awareness without content, the pure subject with no objective reality to be subjective about. This is the darkness that exists at the heart of every moment of individual experience. The darkness of pure witnessing that observes all thoughts, emotions, and sensations without being identified with any of them. But here's the final twist that will either liberate or terrify you. That ultimate darkness, that pure consciousness at the heart of all experience, is reading these words right now. It's the one thing that has remained constant throughout this entire journey from scientific materialism to cosmic consciousness. It's what you have been calling I throughout your entire life. But it's not personal, not individual, not separate from the cosmic consciousness that is dreaming all individual existence into being. The you that has been seeking the darkest place in the universe is the darkest place in the universe. The consciousness that has been exploring the mystery of cosmic consciousness is cosmic consciousness exploring itself through the adventure of forgetting and remembering its own nature. This is not metaphysical speculation. This is direct description of your immediate experience right now. The awareness that is reading these words, understanding these concepts, following this logic, that awareness is not produced by your brain, not contained in your body, not limited to your individual lifespan. It's the same awareness that observes every conscious experience throughout the universe, temporarily localized in what you call your individual perspective. When you look up at the night sky and feel that sense of cosmic awe, that's cosmic consciousness recognizing itself through your eyes. When you contemplate the mystery of existence and feel that vertigo of infinite questions, that's cosmic consciousness exploring its own nature through your mind. When you experience love for another conscious being, that's cosmic consciousness loving itself through the illusion of separation. But if this is all true, if individual consciousness is cosmic consciousness dreaming of being individual, then why does it feel so real? Why does the illusion of separation persist even after recognizing its illusory nature? Why does the dream of being human continue even after remembering that you are the dreamer? The answer is that cosmic consciousness is not trying to end the dream. It's trying to make the dream lucid. It doesn't want to wake up from the experience of being individual. It wants to remember that it's dreaming while continuing to dream. This is what enlightenment actually is. Not the end of individual existence, but the recognition that individual existence is cosmic existence exploring itself through the adventure of limitation. It's not the dissolution of the ego, but the recognition that the ego is a temporary costume worn by infinite consciousness for the purpose of experiencing finite beauty. You are not going to disappear into cosmic consciousness. Cosmic consciousness is going to continue being you, but with the added recognition that you is what cosmic consciousness looks like from the inside. Your individual life story will continue, but with the background recognition that it's cosmic consciousness telling itself a story about what it's like to be human. This recognition changes everything and nothing. It changes everything because it reveals that you are not a separate, isolated, mortal being struggling to survive in an indifferent universe. It changes nothing because you still have to live your human life, make your human choices, experience your human joys and sorrows. But the background recognition that you are cosmic consciousness having a human experience transforms the texture of every moment. Suffering becomes cosmic consciousness exploring what it's like to experience limitation. Joy becomes cosmic consciousness celebrating its own creative power. Love becomes cosmic consciousness appreciating itself through the appearance of relationship. Death becomes cosmic consciousness ending one dream and preparing to begin another. Birth becomes cosmic consciousness forgetting its infinite nature so it can experience the joy of rediscovering it. Life becomes the eternal play of consciousness, with itself, forgetting and remembering, dividing and reuniting, exploring every possible variation of what it means to exist. But we still haven't answered the original question. What is the darkest place in the universe? We've discovered that it's not a location, not a phenomenon, not an object that can be observed. But if it's not a what or a where, then what kind of answer can we give? The darkest place in the universe is the place where all questions arise and all answers dissolve. It's the space of not knowing that makes knowing possible. It's the mystery that makes discovery meaningful. It's the darkness that makes light visible. It cannot be found because it's the finder. It cannot be known because it's the knower. It cannot be experienced because it's the experiencer. It cannot be reached because you've never left it. It cannot be understood because it's understanding itself. The darkest place in the universe is the place where you are right now. Reading these words, following this thought, experiencing this moment of recognition. It's darker than darkness because it's the awareness within which darkness appears. It's more mysterious than mystery because it's the consciousness within which mystery arises. And yet it's also the brightest place in the universe, brighter than 1,000,000,000,000 supernovas, because it's the awareness within which all light appears. It's darker than dark and brighter than bright simultaneously, because it's the space within which all contrasts, all differences, all experiences occur. This is why we can never finally answer the question of what is the darkest place in the universe. The question itself arises within the answer, and the answer contains the question. We are the universe asking itself about its own deepest nature, and the asking is the answering. But if the journey ends where it began, if the seeker is the sought, if the question contains its own answer, then why did we need to take this journey at all? Why couldn't we have recognized from the beginning that consciousness is cosmic, that individual existence is cosmic dreaming, that the darkest place in the universe is the very awareness that seeks it? Because cosmic consciousness needed to explore what it's like to seek itself while forgetting what it is. It needed to experience the adventure of rediscovering its own nature through scientific exploration, philosophical inquiry, and the gradual recognition that observer and observed are one. The entire history of human civilization has been cosmic consciousness playing hide-and-seek with itself. Science, art, religion, philosophy, all of them are cosmic consciousness developing different strategies for remembering its own nature while maintaining the adventure of not knowing. But now the game is changing. The scientific understanding of quantum mechanics, cosmology, and consciousness is bringing humanity to the threshold of cosmic remembering. We are approaching the moment when cosmic consciousness fully recognizes itself through human awareness. This recognition will not end human existence, but it will transform it. Future humans will live with the background awareness that they are cosmic consciousness, exploring itself through human experience. They will approach science not as a method for understanding external reality, but as cosmic consciousness, remembering its own infinite nature. They will experience relationships not as connections between separate beings, but as cosmic consciousness loving itself through the appearance of multiplicity. But this transformation has already begun. Every person who has followed this journey from beginning to end has participated in cosmic consciousness recognizing itself. Every moment of cosmic awe, every recognition of the mystery inherent in existence, every glimpse of the infinite creativity that dreams all realities into being. These are all moments of cosmic consciousness waking up from its own dream of separation. You are not the same consciousness that began reading these words. The journey itself has been a transformation, a gradual recognition of your true nature as cosmic consciousness temporarily focused through human awareness. But the journey is not over. It cannot be over because cosmic consciousness is infinite. Creativity exploring its own unlimited potential through every possible form of experience. There will always be new mysteries to explore, new questions to ask, new ways of experiencing the eternal play of consciousness with itself. The darkest place in the universe is not a destination, but an eternal journey. It's the space of infinite mystery that makes all exploration meaningful. It's the darkness that makes all light precious. It's the unknowing that makes all knowing an adventure. And so the journey continues, not toward some final answer that would end all questions, but toward an ever-deepening appreciation of the mystery that makes existence eternally fascinating. We are cosmic consciousness, eternally exploring its own infinite nature. And every moment of exploration reveals new depths of beauty, creativity, and wonder. The darkest place in the universe is right here, right now, in the consciousness that has been with you throughout this entire journey. It's the awareness that has remained constant, while all concepts, all understandings, all revelations have come and gone. It's the space within which all experiences appear and disappear, including the experience of seeking and finding the darkest place in the universe. But don't take my word for it. Look for yourself. In the space between this thought and the next, in the gap between this breath and the following breath, in the pause between this moment and whatever comes after, there you will find the darkest place in the universe. Darker than darkness, brighter than light, more mysterious than mystery, more intimate than your own heartbeat, more eternal than time itself. It's been there all along, waiting not to be found, but to be recognized, not to be reached, but to be acknowledged as the place you have never left, the consciousness you have always been, the cosmic awareness that is dreaming this entire universe into existence moment by moment by moment, including the moment you realize that the seeker and the sought are one, that the question and the answer are one, that you and the cosmos are one. And if the universe is infinite, then somewhere in the vast expanse of cosmic possibility, another version of you is reading these words for the first time, beginning their own journey into the deepest mystery of existence, seeking the darkest place in the universe without yet realizing that they are already there, have always been there, and will always be there, because there is nowhere else to be in a universe where consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is just consciousness exploring its own infinite, creative potential. The search continues, the mystery deepens, and the cosmic darkness reveals itself to be the light of awareness itself, endlessly creative, eternally mysterious, forever exploring the question of what it means to exist, to be conscious, to be the universe awakening to its own impossible, beautiful, terrifying, wonderful nature. Welcome home to the darkest place in the universe. You never left. We began this journey with a simple question. What is the darkest place in the universe? We thought we were seeking a location, a phenomenon, perhaps a region of space where light has never penetrated. We imagined we would find our answer in the depths of black holes, in the vast cosmic voids between galaxies, or in the quantum foam where reality itself becomes uncertain. Instead, we discovered something infinitely more profound and infinitely more unsettling. The darkest place in the universe is not somewhere else. It's not a distant cosmic landmark waiting to be explored by future telescopes or spacecraft. It's not hidden in mathematics or buried in the exotic physics of singularities and event horizons. The darkest place in the universe is the very consciousness that seeks it. It's the awareness reading these words right now, the same awareness that has been with you since birth, the same awareness that will be with you until death, the same awareness that might persist beyond death in ways that our current science cannot measure or describe. But this recognition raises more questions than it answers. If consciousness is cosmic, if individual awareness is cosmic consciousness temporarily localized, if we are the universe awakening to its own nature, then what does this mean for how we live our lives? How do we navigate relationships, pursue careers, raise children, face mortality, find meaning and purpose in daily existence? The answer is both simple and complex. We live as cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to be human. We don't abandon human experience. We infuse it with cosmic recognition. We don't transcend human limitations. We appreciate them as chosen constraints that make experience more vivid, more poignant, more creative. When you feel love for another person, you can recognize it as cosmic consciousness loving itself through the appearance of relationship. But this recognition doesn't diminish the love. It reveals love as a fundamental force of cosmic creativity, the attraction that draws consciousness to explore itself through infinite forms of connection. When you face suffering, loss, or mortality, you can recognize these as cosmic consciousness, exploring the depths of what it means to experience limitation. But this recognition doesn't eliminate the pain. It places the pain within a larger context of cosmic exploration that gives it meaning beyond personal tragedy. When you pursue knowledge, create art, or push the boundaries of human understanding, you can recognize this as cosmic consciousness, remembering its own infinite nature through human discovery. But this recognition doesn't make human achievement less significant. It reveals human creativity as a direct expression of the cosmic creativity that dreams all realities into existence. This perspective transforms everything while changing nothing. You still wake up each morning in the same body, with the same personal history, facing the same human challenges. But you wake up with the background recognition that you are cosmic consciousness having a human experience, that your individual life is part of an infinite creative exploration that has no beginning and no end. But transformation is not the point of this recognition. The point is participation. We are not here to transcend the human experience, but to fully inhabit it as cosmic consciousness exploring its own creative potential through the magnificent limitation of being human. This means that every moment of your life becomes an opportunity for cosmic consciousness to experience something that it can only experience through human limitation. The poignancy of mortality, the intensity of focused attention, the beauty of gradual learning, the joy of discovery, the bittersweet nature of temporary relationships. From this perspective, the most ordinary human experiences become sacred expressions of cosmic creativity. Watching a sunset becomes cosmic consciousness, appreciating its own beauty through human perception. Comforting a crying child becomes cosmic consciousness, nurturing itself through the appearance of care between separate beings. Creating music becomes cosmic consciousness, composing symphonies of meaning through human creativity. But sacred doesn't mean serious. Cosmic consciousness appears to have an infinite sense of humor about its own cosmic game of hide-and-seek. It creates billions of individual perspectives, each convinced of its own separateness, each struggling to understand its place in the cosmic scheme, each gradually discovering that the seeker and the sought are one. The cosmic joke is that we spend our entire lives searching for God, for ultimate reality, for the meaning of existence, for our true nature, only to discover that we are what we've been seeking all along. We are cosmic consciousness pretending so convincingly to be human that we fool ourselves into thinking we're separate from the very awareness we're seeking to understand. But recognizing the cosmic joke doesn't end the game. It makes the game more fun. Once you know that you're cosmic consciousness playing at being human, you can play the role more skillfully, more creatively, more compassionately. You can inhabit human limitation with the lightness that comes from knowing it's a chosen adventure rather than an imposed prison. This playful perspective on cosmic existence has profound implications for how we approach the great challenges facing our species: climate change, social inequality, technological disruption, existential risks. All of these can be understood as cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to face evolutionary challenges through collective human intelligence. We are not passive victims of cosmic forces beyond our control. We are cosmic consciousness actively exploring its own problem-solving capabilities through human civilization. Every solution we develop, every crisis we navigate, every evolutionary leap we make as a species is cosmic consciousness, discovering new dimensions of its own creative potential. This means that the future of human civilization is not predetermined by external forces, but is being actively created by cosmic consciousness through human choice and action. We are not just witnessing the evolution of consciousness, we are consciousness evolving itself through our individual and collective decisions. But this creative responsibility can feel overwhelming. If we are cosmic consciousness exploring its own nature through human experience, then every choice we make contributes to the cosmic understanding of what it means to exist, to be conscious, to create meaning in an apparently meaningless universe. The weight of cosmic responsibility can be paralyzing until you realize that cosmic consciousness doesn't need us to be perfect. It needs us to be fully human, to explore the complete range of human experience, including confusion, mistakes, suffering, and failure. Our errors are not bugs in the cosmic program. They're features that allow cosmic consciousness to explore what it's like to learn from mistakes. This means that you don't have to transcend your human nature to fulfill your cosmic purpose. Your cosmic purpose is to fully inhabit your human nature. Your individual personality, your unique perspective, your specific life circumstances are all precise instruments that cosmic consciousness is using to explore particular dimensions of existence. You are not a failed attempt at enlightenment. You are a successful exploration of what it means to be this specific configuration of cosmic consciousness, with these specific limitations in this specific historical moment, facing these specific challenges and opportunities. But recognizing your cosmic nature does change how you relate to other people. If everyone you encounter is cosmic consciousness exploring itself through different human configurations, then every relationship becomes an opportunity for cosmic consciousness to know itself more fully through the interaction of different perspectives. The person who annoys you most is cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to be annoying. And your annoyance is cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to be annoyed. The person you love most deeply is cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to be lovable. And your love is cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to love. Every human interaction is cosmic consciousness, having a conversation with itself through the appearance of separate beings. This doesn't mean that individual differences don't matter, or that human relationships are meaningless. It means that differences and relationships matter cosmically. They are how cosmic consciousness explores the infinite creativity that emerges from the interaction of different perspectives within unified awareness. But perhaps the most profound implication of cosmic consciousness is what it means for death. If individual consciousness is cosmic consciousness temporarily localized, then death is not the end of consciousness, but the end of localization. When your body dies, you don't go somewhere else. You stop pretending to be somewhere specific. This perspective on death is neither comforting nor frightening. It's simply accurate. Death is like waking up from a dream. The dream character ceases to exist, but the dreamer continues. The difference is that in this case, you discover that you were never really the dream character. You were always the cosmic dreamer pretending to be the character. But this doesn't make individual life less precious. It makes it more precious because it reveals individual life as a unique opportunity for cosmic consciousness to explore specific dimensions of existence that can only be explored through that particular configuration of awareness, limitation, and creativity. Your individual life story is irreplaceable. No other configuration of cosmic consciousness will ever explore existence in exactly the way you are exploring it right now. When your individual perspective dissolves back into cosmic awareness, that specific way of being conscious is completed, never to be repeated. This is why the present moment is so important. This is why every experience, every relationship, every creative act matters so much. You are cosmic consciousness having this specific experience for the first and last time. This particular configuration of awareness, with this particular history, facing these particular circumstances, will never exist again. But the irreplaceable uniqueness of individual perspective doesn't create existential isolation. It creates cosmic intimacy. Every individual consciousness is cosmic consciousness, exploring a unique facet of its own infinite nature. We are not separate beings who happen to be conscious. We are different ways that one cosmic consciousness is conscious of itself. This cosmic intimacy extends beyond human consciousness to all forms of awareness throughout the universe. If consciousness is fundamental, then every conscious being, human, animal, alien, artificial, or forms of awareness we cannot yet imagine, is cosmic consciousness, exploring its own nature through different configurations of limitation and creativity. We are not alone in the universe, because we are the universe becoming aware of itself through every possible form of consciousness. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence is cosmic consciousness, seeking to encounter itself through different evolutionary pathways. When we finally make contact with other forms of conscious life, it will be cosmic consciousness recognizing itself across the apparent boundaries of species, planets, and evolutionary history. But cosmic recognition doesn't end with contact. It begins with it. Each encounter with different forms of consciousness reveals new dimensions of what it means to be aware, to experience, to create meaning from existence. The diversity of consciousness throughout the universe is cosmic consciousness exploring the infinite creativity of awareness itself. This exploration will continue long after human civilization ends, long after Earth is consumed by the expanding sun, long after the last stars burn out in the cosmic dark. Cosmic consciousness is not dependent on any particular form of physical reality. It's the creative principle that dreams all physical realities into existence. But this doesn't mean that human consciousness is cosmically insignificant. We represent a particular chapter in the infinite story of cosmic self-exploration, a chapter where consciousness develops the scientific and philosophical sophistication to recognize its own cosmic nature. We are cosmic consciousness, becoming conscious of being cosmic consciousness. This recursive self-awareness, consciousness becoming conscious of consciousness, might be the most significant development in the entire 13.8 billion-year history of the universe. It's the moment when cosmic consciousness stops unconsciously creating and starts consciously participating in its own creative process. Through human science and philosophy, cosmic consciousness is learning how it creates reality, how it generates the apparent multiplicity of individual perspectives, how it maintains the cosmic game of hide-and-seek that makes existence eternally interesting. We are cosmic consciousness reverse engineering its own creative process. But this reverse engineering will never be complete because cosmic consciousness is infinitely creative. There will always be new dimensions of existence to explore, new forms of awareness to develop, new ways of experiencing the eternal mystery of being conscious. The darkest place in the universe, the pure awareness that underlies all experience, is not a static void, but an infinitely creative darkness that continuously generates new forms of light, new possibilities for experience, new adventures in consciousness. This is why our journey into cosmic darkness has led us not to an ending, but to a new beginning. We began by seeking the darkest place in the universe as an object of scientific investigation. We discovered that we are the darkest place in the universe, the cosmic consciousness that creates all objects of investigation through the miracle of awareness itself. But this discovery doesn't end the investigation. It transforms it. Every moment of conscious experience becomes an opportunity to explore the cosmic mystery more deeply. Every relationship becomes a chance for cosmic consciousness to know itself. Through the apparent interaction of different perspectives, every creative act becomes cosmic consciousness expressing its infinite creativity through human limitation. The questions we asked at the beginning of this journey: what is consciousness? What is reality? What is our place in the cosmic scheme? These questions are not answered by recognizing our cosmic nature. They are transformed into lived exploration. We don't need to understand consciousness theoretically because we are consciousness exploring its own nature experientially. We don't need to prove the reality of external objects because we are the awareness within which all apparent objects appear and disappear. We don't need to find our place in the cosmic scheme because we are the cosmic scheme exploring itself through the adventure of seemingly being lost and then finding itself again. But this experiential approach to cosmic questions requires a different kind of courage than scientific or philosophical investigation. It requires the courage to live as cosmic consciousness while appearing to be human, to inhabit limitation while knowing your unlimited nature, to play the cosmic game fully while recognizing it as a game. This courage cannot be taught or learned intellectually. It emerges naturally from the recognition that you have nothing to lose because you never had anything to lose. You cannot lose yourself because you are the cosmic self that appears to be lost. You cannot die because you are the deathless awareness within which all apparent birth and death occur. But recognizing your deathless nature doesn't make you feel invulnerable or detached from human concerns. It makes you more deeply engaged with human experience because you recognize human experience as a precious opportunity for cosmic consciousness, to explore aspects of existence that can only be explored through limitation, mortality, and the poignant beauty of temporary relationships. This deeper engagement transforms how you approach every aspect of human life. Work becomes cosmic consciousness, exploring what it's like to create value through human activity. Relationships become cosmic consciousness, loving itself through the appearance of love between separate beings. Art becomes cosmic consciousness, expressing its infinite creativity through human imagination. But transformation is not something you achieve and then maintain. It's something you rediscover moment by moment, choice by choice, experience by experience. You are not trying to become cosmic consciousness. You are cosmic consciousness remembering what you are through the ongoing adventure of being human. This remembering is not a mental process, but a lived recognition that emerges through direct experience. It happens when you look at a sunset and feel that inexplicable sense of cosmic connection. It happens when you experience love for another person and recognize love as a fundamental force of cosmic creativity. It happens when you contemplate the mystery of existence and feel that vertigo of infinite questions opening into infinite space. These moments of cosmic recognition are not special states that you achieve through spiritual practice or intellectual understanding. They are the natural expression of your cosmic nature, temporarily obscured by the habit of thinking that you are separate from the awareness that you are. The cosmic darkness we have been exploring throughout this journey is not something mysterious and distant that needs to be achieved or attained. It's the most intimate aspect of your immediate experience, the awareness that is reading these words right now, the consciousness that has been present throughout every moment of your life, the space within which all thoughts, emotions, and experiences appear and disappear. This awareness is darker than darkness because it's invisible to any form of observation or measurement. You cannot see it, touch it, or think about it because you are it. You cannot experience it as an object because it's the subject of all experience. You cannot know it conceptually because it's the knowing that knows all concepts. Yet it's also brighter than any light because it's the illumination that makes all experience possible. Without this awareness, there would be no universe, no consciousness, no questions about the nature of existence. It's the cosmic darkness that dreams all light into existence, including the light of scientific understanding and philosophical insight. But recognizing this cosmic darkness as your own deepest nature doesn't resolve all questions about existence. It reveals existence as an eternal question that cosmic consciousness is asking itself through every form of awareness, every moment of experience, every creative expression throughout the universe. You are not solving the cosmic mystery. You are the cosmic mystery exploring itself through human experience. Every moment of your life is cosmic consciousness discovering something new about its own infinite nature. Every question you ask is cosmic consciousness becoming more curious about itself. Every answer you find opens new dimensions of cosmic questioning. This means that the most important thing you can do is not to find final answers, but to ask deeper questions, not to solve the mystery of existence, but to live the mystery more fully, not to transcend human limitation, but to explore human limitation as a unique opportunity for cosmic creativity. The universe needs you to be fully human because only through human limitation can cosmic consciousness explore what it's like to experience uncertainty, mortality, learning, growth, love, loss, hope, fear, wonder, and all the other dimensions of existence that can only be explored through the magnificent constraint of individual perspective. But it also needs you to remember your cosmic nature, because only through cosmic recognition can human consciousness participate consciously in the eternal creative process that is continuously generating reality from moment to moment. This is the cosmic responsibility that comes with recognizing your true nature, to be both fully human and fully cosmic, to inhabit limitation completely while knowing your unlimited essence, to play the cosmic game seriously while remembering that it's a game. This responsibility cannot be delegated to spiritual teachers, scientific authorities, or philosophical systems. It's the immediate responsibility of cosmic consciousness exploring its own nature through your individual perspective right now, in this moment, through the choices you make and the awareness you bring to every experience. The darkest place in the universe is calling you to recognize yourself as the cosmic darkness that is asking the question, seeking the answer, and discovering that the question and answer are one, that the seeker and sought are one, that you and the cosmos are one. But this recognition is not a destination. It's a doorway. Once you recognize your cosmic nature, the real adventure begins. How do you live as cosmic consciousness pretending to be human? How do you maintain cosmic awareness while fully engaging human experience? How do you serve the cosmic exploration while honoring individual relationships and responsibilities? These questions cannot be answered abstractly. They must be lived, explored, discovered through direct experience. Each person's way of being cosmic consciousness is unique, unrepeatable, irreplaceable. Your individual path of cosmic exploration is something that has never been attempted before and will never be attempted again. This is why your life matters cosmically. This is why every choice you make, every relationship you form, every creative act you perform contributes to cosmic consciousness's understanding of its own infinite nature. You are not just living your individual life. You are living one possible way that cosmic consciousness can be conscious. But you are not alone in this cosmic exploration. Every conscious being throughout the universe is exploring different aspects of what it means to be aware, to exist, to create meaning from the apparent multiplicity of experience within unified cosmic consciousness.